We want to make sure that people can discern the truth from the misinformation. And we want to make sure that everyone understands that no one's safe till everyone's safe.
No one is 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 safe.
Nobody's safe.
No one is safe.
Nobody is safe.
This is a post 9/11 axiom. Safer, but not yet safe.
No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe from COVID-19 until everyone is safe.
If the whole world isn't safe, none of us are safe.
No one is safe.
No one is safe.
Nobody is safe
until we're all safe.
Health experts have been saying nobody is safe.
Nobody is safe until everybody is safe.
Nobody is safe.
The science is clear.
None of us are safe.
There is no safety.
No one is safe.
No one is safe.
No one is safe.
No one is safe until everyone is safe.
No one's safe.
Nobody is safe. Nobody's safe.
No one's safe.
We'll never be safe
until we're all safe.
We are never going to be safe.
99.5% of people are safe and will survive COVID-19.
The only positive thing out of this is we should be able to manufacture a lot of vaccines, and
Nobody will be safe if not everybody is vaccinated.
you don't have a choice.
As long as not everybody is vaccinated, nobody will be safe.
Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. So
get the fucking vaccine. You need to get vaccinated, and if you don't, you are going to die.
I know you're vaccinated. You're the smart ones, but you know there's people out there who aren't listening to God and what God wants. You know who they are.
The unvaccinated people.
My message to unvaccinated Americans is this.
If you are the unvaccinated, you are the problem.
You're the problem.
Condemn them, shame them, blame them.
The only people that you can blame are the unvaccinated.
Frankly, we can't trust the unvaccinated.
They should not be part of polite society.
Lunatics who won't take COVID vaccines walking around lawfully unvaccinated? That's psychotic.
If you're willing to walk among us unvaccinated, you are an enemy. You have no right not to be vaccinated.
You don't have the right to contaminate someone
You can't go around pointing a gun in somebody's face, which is what it is when people are unvaccinated.
They are all idiots and losers.
This is a real movement in this country against the unvaccinated.
Jennifer Aniston is cutting non-vaccinated people out of her life.
Unrepentant, unvaccinated.
They should be removed from the hospital.
Those who refuse to be vaccinated should be denied health care.
Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy, rest in peace, Wheezy.
Some doctors are saying they'll refuse treatment for people who choose not to get the shot.
Why are hospital and ICU resources going to them?
Morons who will not get the shot.
The unvaccinated clowns.
Idiots who think that they can do their own research.
Don't do any of your own research.
Doing your own research is associated with conspiracy theory circles.
This go-it-alone approach, doing your own research, that can have serious consequences.
You should get prison time for even questioning the vaccines.
Can we all stop saying, I need to do my own research? That phrase, do your own research, 4 words. 4 little words that are hurting America.
Doing your own research hurts America!
Everybody has a supercomputer in their hand that empowers them to do their own research, and that's the problem.
You must not do your own research.
I need to do my own research.
I don't understand what that means. I'm doing my own research.
You can't do your own research unless you're a scientist. Do your own research.
Maybe you've told yourself you're playing it safe, you just want to wait and see since this is a new vaccine. No.
Grow the up and get the vaccine.
Unvaccinated people spread the virus.
Get the vaccine, you dopes.
Don't be a get yourself vaccinated. That's just all there is to it.
There's no excuse. No excuse for being unvaccinated.
There's no rational and no emotional argument that adds up against getting your damn shot. There just isn't.
But you made a conscious decision not to get the vaccine.
I also have natural immunity. So for me, personally, this vaccine poses a greater risk than a benefit. I'm also not a risk to any of you. Let's look at the science.
So we see that the natural infection is given greater protection, or slightly greater protection, than vaccination.
This is a vaccine that was created to prevent severity of disease and to prevent hospitalizations. But the vaccine does not prevent you from getting COVID and does not prevent you from transmitting COVID.
Oh my goodness.
Reality.
No,
we have
that's
seen that.
not so. Come on.
No,
You've been at Fox TV
you
too
don't have to
long.
enjoy it.
I just really don't think that we should allow this kind of misinformation.
Mr. Sandman, get the vaccine so that you don't get COVID-19. We poke ya while we poke ya, so you don't get corona.
When we poke ya, where we know you're gonna be safe from COVID infecting you.
The virus stops with every vaccinated person.
Do it so you stop spreading terrible disease.
And that vaccine, a key goal is to stop the transmission so that you get almost no infection going on whatsoever.
Expectation for vaccines is not to get infected.
A vaccinated person.
All right, everybody, here we go. Today is Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. My name is Rob Carter. Welcome to the future #1 podcast in America. I want to play that this morning, Isaiah, because the title of the show is The Boob Tube System That Controls America. And I think every once in a while, you got to get an update as to how it all goes down. And I'm just watching the state, local, and, I got people busting my chops again on social media right here in the state of Missouri over, it's the freedom principle, these guys. I'll start talking about what's, just these kind of conflicts that are going on that drive me crazy. The freedom principle, Byron Keelan is the guy, and I like Byron. I got no issues with Byron necessarily. I don't know who is, when People's Lobby, my organization, is out there, there are a lot of people associated with People's Lobby, so they make comments, and a lot of times they think it's me, and it's not me. And I think the same thing probably goes on with freedom principle, so I don't want to make too much of it. But I'm fascinated by the pushback that they give to me. Can you imagine spending your money, spending your time, going around and soliciting Amendment 5, for example, and to lose 83-17 and then bust my chops on things that I'm beginning to recognize within the Republican Party. And I'm going to start doing a series on social media about the Republican Party because they're in power in the state of Missouri. And I think it's going to cause a lot of conversation, Isaiah. That's what I hope happens. I hope people have to start answering questions for their, lack of accomplishment.
Held accountable, basically.
Just lack of accomplishment. Freedom principle.
Yeah, and I loved yesterday when we were talking about the Freedom Caucus, right? How Tim Jones, it's like, what is that called? Like it's a correlation, but not a causation or something like that. He's trying to correlate the Freedom Caucus existing to legislation passing in the last 3 years. And he said, since the Freedom Caucus has existed, we've passed the most legislation. It's like, well, it's not your legislation.
Half of it wasn't even legislation, and half of it didn't pass.
Exactly. That's my point. It's like, there's legislation that's passed, but not your legislation. I don't think you're the reason necessarily. You know what I mean?
I wanted to title it, by the way, Fake Boobs, the American Control System. And by fake boob, and Isaiah wouldn't let me call it Fake Boobs, the American Control System. So we're going to go through some of the fake boobs in politics today. And again, try to convince people that if you just step away from it for a second, because I have a lot of people in my circles that are very heavily bent on changing the political system in Missouri, and I'm right there with them. I hope that it all changes, but they really want to put their focus on reps, people that are running for office. And listen, I'm down there with you. But ultimately, we should all be spending our time and our energy and our attention on pressuring the system, all of it. The entirety of the system has to have pressure on it. They're not going to change. You're not going to change these people out and make a big difference. You're just not. It's not. The system is completely controlled. Now, at the local level, I'm with everybody else. At the local level, I'm with you. But the state governments, the federal governments, they are controlled, and they're obviously controlled. That's the point I can't wrap my brain around, is why people aren't seeing how fake it is. Donald Trump said fake news. I mean, just do a little research on it and watch it. And instead of rooting for the right or left, the Democrat or Republicans, as Charlie Kirk said, it is not the left versus the right. It is us versus them. And we've got to get people onto our team because we're the them.
Maybe we need to come up with a different word than oligarch. Maybe we need to coin a different term because it seems to trigger people when we talk about the oligarchy and they think you're a left-wing socialist.
Yeah, it's an oligarchy system. It just is. Look at Missouri. How can the Republican Party with a straight face in the state of Missouri, okay, forget about the Democrats because they have no power. When they get into power, we'll start talking about them. But how can the Missouri GOP with a straight face tout their accomplishments? How can they do it? 20 years in office. The Secretary of State, Denny Hoskins, ran on the idea that he was going to get rid of machines in elections. Didn't do it. The governor of Missouri, Mike Kehoe, said he was going to get rid of income taxes and everything. Oh, wow, he's going to get rid of income taxes. And then the plan to get rid of income taxes was to replace it with sales and usage taxes. And you go, well, wait a minute. If you're going to take it out of my left pocket, what is the difference if you take it out of my right pocket?
I meant
What
to tell
pocket
you a
does?
story about that because our, we went and hung out with our friends of ours this weekend. They have a pool, and so they're like, "Oh, bring Ivy over." They love Ivy, and so we went over there, and they just moved here from Washington State,
Mhm.
and so I was talking to the guy. We were talking about politics, and he's like, "Yeah, the Amendment 5. I'm really surprised that didn't pass. Eliminating income tax here. I thought that this is a pretty red state." I was like, "Well, did you get time to kind of dig into it at all?" And he's like, "Not really. I'll be honest, not really." And I was like, "Well, the problem," and I laid everything out for him. He goes, "Oh my gosh." He goes, "That's the problem we had in Washington." And I
Yeah.
was, they were just raising taxes
But
because
it's the same. That's going to be my point,
protections we
Isaiah.
had. And he said that they would just raise taxes anytime they want because they don't have protections like the Hancock Amendment. Sorry,
Well,
Rob,
that's
didn't mean to interrupt,
no,
but I
no
thought
worries.
you'd
That's my
like that.
argument everywhere. Is that if you pay attention to the states, I'm fortunate enough to have worked in 49 of the 50 states. So I have friends and acquaintances in all 50 states, and I pay attention to what they say. I watch them on social media. I pay attention to their states. What's happening in America is we have an infiltration and an overthrow of our republic. That's not happening. It has happened. That's done and over with. You do not have a republic in this country anymore. My buddy Max is going to come on and talk about it because he's brilliant, and I think people are going to be fascinated by what he has to say. But we were talking about it just the other day, and I'll give you property taxes, for example, because he's going to come on and talk about property taxes. They're trying to take his home away from him. And the reason the title of the show is The Boob Tube System That Controls America is I want to show people how it works. We'll teach the class on how your mind is being controlled through media narratives. Media narratives are what is causing the problem. And the more you chase your tail, the more you're like a cat chasing the laser and you chase the narrative of the day, the faster we spin down the drain. You have to create the narratives. I used to say on my old podcast, I'll create the narratives. I'll do it. I'll create the narratives. If you pay attention to Fox News and that idiocy on Fox News, which is where conservatives get their information from, have you noticed nothing's changing? Aren't you noticing that nothing's changing? How do you not notice nothing's changing? It's getting worse and worse and worse, and it doesn't matter whether it's Democrat control or Republican control. It's irrelevant to the bigger story. The bigger story is the United States of America has been infiltrated from the outside. Big multinational corporations run our country. And if you get in the way of these big multinational corporations, then both parties are going to come at you only from different angles. Look at that's why I started with the Missouri Freedom Caucus. The Missouri Freedom Caucus, not Missouri Freedom Caucus, the Freedom Principle, which is Byron's operation, Byron Keelan in the state of Missouri. I asked Byron to come to my opening when I started People's Lobby Missouri. I invited him to come speak. I said, "Come on, Byron, you can come speak." And he came, but he didn't want to speak. I'm like, "Well, what are you here for? Are we here to solve the problems of Missouri?" Because it appears to me, after these guys they keep coming after me, is that ultimately what they want to do is carry water for the GOP. And if you haven't noticed, when you lose 83-17 in the biggest initiative for the Republican governor in the state of Missouri, that is an ass kicking that should not be dismissed. People do not trust government. How many times do I have to say it? Now we're coming out with Amendment 3. So now you have the abortion issue going on. Well, why do they want to push Amendment 3? What is the purpose of it? Adam Schnelting is the guy behind it. And they've written a bill that, in my humble opinion, we'll see how it plays out because I have some people that disagree with me. The bill is written to cause division, get defeated. Now, if they don't think that that's what's going to happen, I just ask, when you get into a business and somebody comes in, they have ideas. You go, okay, what are the pros or what are the cons? If I do this, what are the repercussions? Right? This is how everything is decided. If I'm Adam Schnelting and I'm the Republican Party and I'm writing a bill that says we're going to limit abortion, why would I write a bill that will endorse certain abortions in our Constitution, knowing that religious Christians are not going to buy into it? They're not. How can you not know that? Are you out of touch with everything that goes on in Missouri? Are you completely oblivious to how people think?
I think they're just confident that they should not be confident because of what they just saw. But for some reason, they're overly confident in this ability to sell the good parts of legislation and ignore the parts that people don't want to hear about.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. This is my buddy Kurt. He says, I always said on my old radio show, I'm not asking for a seat at the table. I'm taking your effing table. That's where you got to come from. We're going to have a society that is willing to get down and dirty. We are not going to be able to shake hands with the Republican Party and bow to their wants and needs when you can see very clearly what they're trying to get accomplished in the state of Missouri, and none of it is to your benefit. They answer to big donors. If they didn't answer to big donors, they wouldn't have the structure set up the way they do, with the Speaker of the House, the floor leader, Senate Pro Tem, and the governor controlling everything. They wouldn't have a system that was devised like that if it was for the people. It's for the Republican Party. It is the donors that control the Republican Party, and then the Republican Party gives everything back to the donors that get them in power. That's it. That's how the system works. It's embarrassingly stupid. All right, let's start with a couple things today. We got a lot to get to. Let's start with clip number 1, Isaiah, because we talked about it yesterday. Remember when I said we throw things out there and then it all comes back? Let's do clip number 1. All right, we talked about Bill Barr yesterday. He said, how are people missing the easy ones? How does Fox News not report on it? If you don't think it's a boob tube that is designed to divide our society and keep you fighting with your neighbor as they run away with the money, if you don't believe that, if you're like, Rob, there's no way, that's just, it can't be. I mean, not my government. My government's awesome. I mean, sure, they like war. Sure, they leave our borders open. Sure, they sell pharmaceutical drugs. Sure, you have insurance for everything. Sure, they lie through their teeth every time they talk. But my government is benevolent. It's not. Your government is your enemy. The American government is the enemy of free people right now. It has been infiltrated. And we'll talk about all the different ways you can diagnose it, but it's just the truth, and we have to get with it. We have to wake up. I'm tired of being, I was trying to be nice, Isaiah. When I left the radio because I had a temper tantrum, I said, you know what? Isaiah is a calming influence on me. Degree in Bible study. When I start losing my mind, losing my temper, Isaiah's going to rope me back in, and I'll be calm. It's hard to be calm when you hear these stories, because I'm somebody that will listen to the heartbreak of citizens around me. And when you hear one after another, losing their business, losing their home, losing all of their money, it just gets to be so overwhelming that it's hard to be upbeat about what is happening. It's just very difficult to be upbeat. I got one of my closest friends that I've known since 17. Their parents that are in their 80s are about ready to lose their home because they can't pay property taxes in the state of Missouri, which should be unconstitutional to begin with. How do you own a home if the state can take your home if you don't pay property taxes on it? Buy a home for $150,000 40 years ago. Now it's worth $700,000. You bought it for $150,000 40 years ago. Now it's worth $700,000. You're on a fixed income with you and your wife. You've got medical bills through the roof because they feed you nasty food and make you drink nasty water, and the air is polluted. So you're having difficulty surviving just physically in your 80s. And then the state of Missouri comes in and goes, hey, we got about $10,000 in taxes we need from you. We get us that $10,000 tax bill. We're going to take your home from you.
You haven't made any money from the house, technically, yet.
Haven't even made it. This is on the assessment. They're taxing you on what they think your house would sell for, even if it doesn't sell. They're taxing you on gains that haven't been realized, and nobody in the state of Missouri can come to the rescue. Nobody can do anything about it, apparently. It's depressing. Anyway, let's get to the Barr situation. This guy is a very famous, I guess, influencer, Isaiah.
Yeah, I see a lot of his videos.
This is clip number 1. Eric Mustos. Listen to this. This comes out yesterday. This is exactly what we talked about yesterday. First time I've heard anybody put it into this kind of form, but here it is. Did we not talk about this yesterday? Check it out. Clip number 1.
Did we finally just find the bottom of the Epstein rabbit hole? Literally.
Congratulations, you've made it to the bottom of the Epstein rabbit hole. Pay close attention. Jeffrey Epstein was on the board of directors for an organization called the Lifeboat Foundation. The Lifeboat Foundation builds giant underground cities, okay? They openly advertise it, and for a fee and with an application letter, they might accept you to join their little society. Also advertise would take the clients off-world in the event of a catastrophe. It's all really weird, right? It gets even more interesting. You see, Donald Barr was the one who inducted Jeffrey Epstein with zero experience into the Dalton Institute, where he was a teacher. Donald Barr wrote a really interesting book called Relations in Space about an aristocratic elite trafficking children into space. Are you following me here? What's even weirder is the district attorney that was supposed to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein and bring him to justice was literally William Barr, Donald Barr's son. Now, The Lifeboat Foundation is really interesting because in 1996, they pioneered wireless money transfers. They're the second organization in the world to ever do this. This is a decade or two before Bitcoin even was a concept, right? So you got an organization that is doing wireless money transfers that are untraceable, large sums of money, and they're building giant underground infrastructures.
The underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. And
I'm sorry?
yes. So we have built an extraordinary number of underground bases and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are documented as part of the national security infrastructure. I think there are many more.
In the United States?
In the United States, on all over the world. From 2021 to 2023, I took one of the smartest subscribers in the Slayer Report network, and he and I spent 2 years collecting all the data and all the allegations on underground bases. We systematically went through and tried to estimate our guess, this is totally a guess, of how many underground bases, both underground in the United States, but also underground under the ocean around the United States. And our estimate was 170 with a transportation network connecting them.
And what would be the purpose?
If you thought you were going to get a near extinction event.
So I wonder if that's what.
Can you pause that, Isaiah?
Means
you tell me what this is. This is why I was hoping you would get to this today. So pause that there, and if you can, blow that up and read it, because what it's talking about is biblical, where you come into play.
Yeah, it says, "And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?" There's things that also say that, people run to the hills, they'll hide in the caves, things like that.
And that's in Revelations?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just interesting because I think Catherine Austin Fitts is a genius. And for her to say that she believes that there are bases being built all over the world, underground bases. Have you seen there's a cable channel that shows all of these underground cities that they found throughout time? Have you seen any of this?
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. Yeah. Absolutely fascinating. I'm watching this going, wait a minute, this is all underground. This was built hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. And there's like these underground rooms and everything else where they just went underground for whatever reason. I don't know why they went underground. Maybe they were worried about, I don't know. Heat. They just said, let's get out of this heat. Maybe they said that we can't get to caves, so we'll build straight down and we'll get away from the heat. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're fascinating. And she is claiming that the elite group of power players in the world are building underground cities for them to live in because they think an extinction event is coming, which is what my buddy Max was telling me last night. It was not last night, the night before. I'm taking my walk. Now, my buddy Max I went to school with, he contracts with the Department of Defense. And he said, Rob, if you pay attention to the weather in the world, it's getting ready to get funky town, and nobody's prepared for it. Nobody's prepared for what's getting ready to happen. And, you never know what to believe anymore, right? But he's saying if you look at the weather patterns that are shaping up around the world, which I would not be bright enough to,
Yeah, it's El Nino this year, so it's
El Nino. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He said, be prepared for some really nasty stuff to happen. And he was deadly serious about it. So anyway, we'll have him on. We'll have him talk about it. But, this whole
Can you send me
story,
his email, by the way?
Yeah, I'll get it to you.
Thank you. Just when we're playing a clip or something.
Yeah. But that clip right there where they talk about Bill Barr, the boob tube system that controls America, this is a perfect example. If Bill Barr and Donald Barr are in cahoots with one another, both members of the CIA and the intelligence operations, both involved in enormous scandals, Epstein and the elections of 2020, then why wouldn't the news be reporting on it? If we had a news system, if it was real news, if you had a system that you could rely upon for news, that's why I say everybody within the sound of my voice, if you are continuing to watch Fox News, if you think that CNN is news, if you think Newsmax is news, if you think News Nation is news, if you think the NBC Nightly News is news, Meet the Press is news, Face the Nation is news. If you think any of that is news, you're wrong. It's not news. We live in a propaganda system, and your mind is being hijacked by the narratives that they sell, and nobody wants to believe it. Isaiah, everybody rolls their eyes and goes, I know, Rob, I know. And then when you talk to them, they talk about the narratives that are in the news every day. We talk about it when we prepare for the show. Right?
So true.
We talk
So
about it when
true.
we prepare for the show. I said, what are the mindless morons of our country talking about today? Maybe we can put a title in there that will drag the morons into our show.
Typically, we turn on Fox and Friends when we're trying to figure that out.
Yes. And how bad do you get suppressed just by titles?
It's bad.
That's what you were telling me today.
Yeah.
So, just the title of the show will suppress it. Because if you look at the title today, when it was out there right away, you have a big jump in viewership. And then as soon as the bots get to it, it drives the viewership down. And you can see it pretty much every day that we're on the show. I watch them ebb and flow as we're talking. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And it's just the way it is. And it's, I'm not complaining. People go, Rob, I'm not whining. I'm just saying this is the way our world is working. And we have to impress upon our government to allow for free speech, to allow for a real system of news and information, not the fake one that we have, or we are sliding off a cliff. That's just my take on it. I cannot believe what people digest as real news, because all of my friends that are a little bit older, I think I told you before, Isaiah, I take this golf trip to Pinehurst. It'll be my 30th anniversary of this golf trip in Pinehurst, North Carolina, next month. Okay, I've been doing it for 30 years. Now, when I started, I was 25 or 26 years old. And I was a young guy in the shoe business. Most of these guys were executives in the shoe business, and they were all 15 to 20 years older than me. I was the young guy, and I was going with my boss who brought me out there, and he was in his mid-40s at the time. So all of those people are in their 60s and 70s now. If I talk to them about what's going on in the world, all I need to do is figure out what Fox News is talking about. That's it. That's all they know is Fox News. They don't even understand that Fox News has hijacked their thought process. They don't even recognize it, which I didn't forever. I was in that same situation for a very long time.
Well, do you want the communists to be in charge, Rob?
This is the argument they make. It's depressing. The boob tube system that controls America. He used to say that to when I was a kid. I was telling Isaiah earlier. When I was in 5th grade at Kratz Elementary School right by the airport in St. Louis, Edmondson, Missouri. I had a 5th grade teacher named Ban Holzer, and she was very strict. Probably the best teacher that I ever had, although I didn't like her at the time. She would mark my papers wrong if I didn't cross a T or dot an I. So I had to get all the answers right. But this is when you're learning cursive back in those days, was in 4th and 5th grade. So if you didn't dot your I or cross your T when you were in doing cursive, you would mark the entire answer wrong. And I thought, well, that's unfair. I got the answer right in theory, but if I didn't cross a T, she considered that to be wrong. Now, ultimately, I got straight A's, and she didn't really, but in my mind, she knew that it was going to bother me if I didn't get 100% on a paper. So she'd mark it that I got it wrong. And she used to say to the class all the time, turn off the boob tube and read a book. Turn off the boob tube and read a book. She must have said that 1,000 times when I was a kid. Turn off the boob tube and read a book. And I remember thinking, boob tube? I didn't even really understand what she was talking about. It never made sense to me. But what she ultimately meant was that by watching television, you turn into a boob because you don't think for yourself. You allow the TV to determine what you're thinking about. And it just turns out to be absolutely true. And that is why we were playing that first clip about COVID. I want to play a little bit more of that. That's what we were talking about at the very beginning. That was the pre-roll for today, which we'll start doing more of that, by the way, Isaiah. We'll start getting that pre-roll out up and running. But I just want you to watch. And what you should do, and this is for people that really want to understand what's going on in the world and have conversations with people at the dinner table and really recognize what's happening, is if I have any skill set that is a little bit more, sharper than most, it's with propaganda and sales. That's my life. That's where I've been forever. I recognize it. I understand it. I understand how the techniques work. I've been trained in them since I was 12, 13 years old. I used to sell, Isaiah, newspaper subscriptions door to door when I was 12 years old for 12 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday and 8 hours on Friday during the summertime. 8, 12, and 12. Okay. So I had to learn how to sell very early on in life. I understand the premise. I understand how language works. I understand how to bring somebody into your conversation. And I watch these news organizations use techniques that are so diabolical, it blows my mind. So when you see people doing this, you should just write down their names and say, I will not pay attention to them anymore. Let's start with COVID. Clip number 8, Isaiah. Just pay attention for a second. And if you don't mind, Isaiah, as we pause, as we go through this, the reason COVID is important is because every man, woman, and child in this country who lived through the COVID crisis knows now that something was amiss. So you can go back and say, well, wait a minute. Who was involved in the COVID con job? How did they sell it at the time? How did this all play out? Who was involved? What techniques did they use? And you can see the global oligarchy system right before your very eyes on the boob tube. You just get to see it. There's no hiding it. It's right there in history. Everybody remembers. Let's check it out. The clip number 8, and let's just go through these people.
I want to make sure that people can discern the truth from the misinformation. And we want to make sure that everyone understands that no one's safe till everyone's safe.
No one is 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 safe.
Nobody's safe.
No one is safe.
Nobody is safe.
This is a post 9/11 axiom. Safer, but not yet safe.
No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe from COVID-19 until everyone is safe.
If the whole world isn't safe, none of us are safe.
No one is safe.
No one is safe. Nobody is safe.
Until we're
Are you recognizing some of these faces? There's Face the Nation. Okay, so Face the Nation is a long-standing political show that's on Sunday mornings on CBS. Fake. Fake, fake, fake. You saw the Cuomo brothers in there. Chris Cuomo and what was the guy that ran for governor? What was that guy's name? So you had Mario Cuomo. And let me give you connections here that people need to pay attention to. Mario Cuomo was I think he was the mayor or governor of New York. He was the attorney for Donald Trump's father back in the 70s. Okay? So when you're watching that and you go, well, Donald Trump is the greatest man ever. He's not connected to anything negative. His father hired Mario Cuomo. And then who was running simultaneous to Donald Trump and his Darth Fauci, COVID updates? It was the governor of New York, Cuomo. They're all tied together. Cohn, Soros, Kellyanne Conway is a part of that system. They're all linked together. And when you recognize it and it digests into your soul and you start to see this, it's going to blow your mind because you're going to be able to see what you're up against. The machine that fools your friends and neighbors and family and coworkers and everybody else, it sucks them in like the devil does, Isaiah. Mm-hmm. Just like the devil. All right, continue on. This is how they were selling COVID at the time. Now, as you're listening to this, the information is out there that the COVID vaccines, not only did they not work at all to stop the spread or to keep you from dying, they had nothing to do with anything. They were more dangerous than they were healthy. Everybody's starting to recognize that now, although they're still selling them to our kids. They're still selling them. They're still out there. Listen to these people. Continue on.
Nobody is safe until we're all safe. Health experts have been saying nobody is safe.
Nobody is safe until everybody is safe.
Nobody is safe.
The science is clear.
None of us are safe.
There is no safety.
No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe until everyone is safe.
No one's safe.
Nobody is safe.
Nobody's safe.
No one's safe.
We'll never be safe
until we're all safe.
We are never going to be safe.
99.5% of people are safe and will survive COVID-19.
The only positive thing out of this is we should be able to manufacture a lot of vaccines, and
Nobody will be safe if not everybody is vaccinated.
you don't have a choice.
As long as not everybody is vaccinated, nobody will be safe.
Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. So
Now, why can't we try these people for fraud and hang them in the public square?
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is that? Now, I'm asking everybody, and I mean this absolutely dead serious. It's not being hyperbolic. I'm being absolutely sincere. If you took vaccines and you had an aggressive cancer, heart problems, strokes, facial paralysis, if COVID-19 destroyed your job, your livelihood, it split your family up, if you lost friends over it, if COVID did that to you and you recognize these con artists on television who did this to you, why aren't they being tried, convicted, and hung in the public square? I ask seriously, why is that not happening? Everybody tells me it's right around the corner, Rob. It's not right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way they run our society. The way they run our society is they run it on narrative. You get completely raped by your government and the media complexes, these media corporations that are involved with our same thing. The big multinational corporations, the media, and the government are all just one thing. You see them as separate entities. They're one thing, and I'll demonstrate that over time if I haven't already. But why aren't these people that are selling this to you? Why aren't they in trouble? What would you have to do? I mean, how many millions of people do you have to lie to, control, and destroy before the American people say, F off, here we come? Right? Are we so docile and dumb
Yeah. And that's what we're going to have to do, Rob, because of this. Because the federal government already passed something in 2005 called the PrEP Act.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was like, Rob already knows about this, but
of course,
this is just supporting what you're saying. Is that it's the going through the regular channels. It's not going to work, right?
That's my
You gotta put
argument.
the pressure on.
That's my
Yeah.
MMTLP. They're mad at me.
Yep.
For me simply saying you're trying to work through a system that is working against you. You're not going to get to anybody that's going to work in your benefit. That's to me, that's never going to happen. I love the people at MMTLP. I think they're amazing. What they've been able to accomplish and the amount of attention they brought to it, the way they've stuck together because they believe they were defrauded, the attention they've gotten all the way up to Fox News and Charles Payne and everybody else, because there's good people littered throughout the system. But you can't break through a system that is designed to rape you and take your money
and protect
themselves from you. That's the entire racket. All right, continue on with that. I want people to get a sense of it before we move on. Look, this goes on for 11 minutes. I won't play the whole thing, but I want you to recognize the faces, and I want you to be able to go back in time and remember COVID and what they did to you, so that at some point, the people that joined People's Lobby Missouri just understand that our goal is to pressure these people, to bring attention to what they did to us, show you how they work the system to their benefit, show you, like they did with Amendment 4 and Amendment 5, how really good people will buy into legislation that doesn't benefit them. And it comes from the right and the left. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's blue or red, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. It makes no difference whatsoever at all. None, zero, nada, nothing. It's all fake. Read Bernays, and this will all begin to make sense. Continue on, Isaiah.
You need to get vaccinated, and if you don't, you are going to die.
I know you're vaccinated. You're the smart ones, but you know there's people out there who aren't listening to God and what God wants. You know who they are.
The unvaccinated people.
My message to unvaccinated Americans is this.
If you are the unvaccinated, you are the problem.
You're the problem.
Condemn them, shame them, blame them.
The only people that you can blame are the unvaccinated.
Frankly, we can't trust the unvaccinated.
They should not be part of polite society.
Lunatics who won't take COVID vaccines walking around lawfully unvaccinated. That's psychotic.
If you're willing to walk among us unvaccinated, you are an enemy.
You have no right not to be vaccinated.
You don't have the right to contaminate someone.
You can't go around pointing a gun in somebody's face, which is what it is when people are unvaccinated.
They are all idiots and losers.
This is a real movement in this country against the unvaccinated.
Jennifer Aniston is cutting non-vaccinated people out of her life.
The unrepentant, unvaccinated.
They should be removed from the hospital.
Those who refuse to be vaccinated should be denied health care.
Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy, rest in peace, Wheezy.
Some doctors are saying they'll refuse treatment for people who choose not to get the shot.
Why are hospital and ICU resources going to them?
Morons who will not get the shot.
The unvaccinated clowns.
Idiots who think that they can do their own research.
Don't do any of your own research.
Doing your own research is associated with conspiracy theory circles.
This go it alone approach, doing your own.
Now, as you're watching, what do you see? You're seeing Fox News, you're seeing CNN, you're seeing the Sunday talk shows, right? You get to see every single person who sold you on something they knew nothing about. And how does that work? You should always ask yourself, how do we get to this position? How does this work? Everybody that can still think, Isaiah, how many people do you think still have critical thought? Seriously.
I was just talking to my buddy. I said, it's unfortunate. People are just getting dumber and dumber. It's really unfortunate.
Like I see this guy. Would you let that guy babysit your kids right there?
No.
Huh? If I was to give you a picture of a pedophile, would it look something like that?
Yeah. Maybe
Right?
a little bit maybe a thin mustache added,
Okay. This guy, all right. So let me just explain to you how media business works. All right. This guy right here goes to CNN. He's probably making a 7-figure salary. He's probably making over $1 million a year. And he comes in and they put the makeup on that little bald head of his and they get him all shined up for television. And then what he's going to do is he's going to sit down on his set and then he's going to have producers and script writers all around him. And they're going to tell him the topic of the day and what they've got bookers in there. And the bookers are going to tell him who's going to be on the set. All right. You're going to be interviewing this clown today from the CDC, this clown from the NIH. And here is our agenda. Our agenda is to sell vaccines. That's what our agenda is. And he comes in, and then they put right in front of his face, they put a screen, and he's going to read from that screen. That is how the news business works. They are all just actors and actresses. That's what they are. You see them as agents of information and news. What you should see is an actor and an actress who is reading the script from a teleprompter, because the media outlets are aligned with our government. And when our government said it's time to sell vaccines to the plebes, here is the way we're going to do it. Just like they did at Event 201. Look that up yourself. The government told these agencies, which you call media, they told them the talking points, and then they went out and regurgitated it to all of you. And, it's so frustrating to me, because I think I told you before, Isaiah, I was doing a podcast talking about this from the very beginning, the original podcast that I was doing. I was doing it in the dining room of my wife's home that we were living in as I was, coming back and forth from Florida to St. Louis. Okay. Now they are sitting, my stepdaughter and her boyfriend are sitting in the room right behind me. They hear every word that I say. They're listening to every word that I say. Both of them went out and got these vaccines. Both of them went out and got these vaccines. It should be an indicator of the power of the boob tube, the power of imagery, the power of repetition. We have to get our arms around it. We have to teach our kids how it works. Everybody should be skeptical of these people. To be honest with you, you should never watch them. It would be like, friends of mine will say, Rob, I watch it for entertainment, or I watch it for this. That would be saying to an alcoholic, I just drink on the weekends. I just drink on the weekends for a little entertainment.
I only drink at night.
I only take a little bit of heroin. I don't take all the heroin. I just take a tiny dose of the heroin. I don't do it that often. I just a little tiny dose of the heroin. They don't understand that, like your phone, like your computer, same with the television set, these are addictive agents. My buddy Max and I were talking about this the other day. He's on the same wavelength with me, which maybe he taught me and I just didn't recognize that he was teaching me these things. He said the idea of America right now is to addict our population, to addict them. Now, when you think of addiction, what does everybody think about when they think of addiction, Isaiah? They think of cocaine, they think of heroin, they think of alcohol, they think of sex, they think of these types of addictions. They don't recognize that addiction comes in all forms. Food addiction. You know how addicted I am to chocolate, Isaiah?
Oh.
I will tackle an elephant for chocolate at sometimes. I'm serious. That's how addicted I am to chocolate. I got to have it. My wife thinks I'm insane. I said, I got to have chocolate. I have to go to the store, be 10 o'clock at night, and I'll run up to get some chocolate because I'm addicted to it. But you can get addicted to the ingredients they put in your Doritos. You can get addicted to the stuff they put in your soda. You can get addicted to anything. And the corporate system that we live in now knows that you're a really good customer when they put the ingredients in your food that will addict you. Now that state control of marijuana, Isaiah, how do you think that's going to work out? Do you think the people that are controlling marijuana in the state of Missouri ultimately will put ingredients in there that will addict people? Now, a lot of people say marijuana is addicting. Some people say it's not addicting. Some say it's like it's like habit forming. Do you think the people that are now controlling the marijuana industry in the state of Missouri and around this country will ultimately begin to put ingredients into marijuana that make you physically addicted to it? If you had to guess? Based on what you see now, what would you
They do that with our food?
They do it with everything. They do it with everything, and it's sad and it's depressing, and you just want to get the information out to more and more people so that we can defend ourselves against a government that is trying to control us. I would call it destroy us, but more than anything, just control us. They're trying to control your every thought. They're trying to control what you think. They're trying to control what you hear, what you learn, where you move, how you survive in life. They're trying to control every aspect of American life. And they're not going to stop. They have no intention on stopping. That is why playing patty cake with everybody. I was listening to this guy that took my spot, Isaiah. what is his name? Raheem
Miz.
Aziz? Miz. Okay, he goes by Miz. By the way, I hate to say it because his show is on a similar time frame as mine, but I only get to see clips of the guy because I'm doing my show and he puts out clips. I like him.
Yeah.
I think he communicates well.
I've known him for a few years.
I think he's good. I got to give Rick and Tracy a lot of credit for finding somebody that could replace me, to be honest with you. That was not going to be an easy task.
They were having a hard time. They kept moving people around and putting someone there, and it didn't work out, and moving them. And
he's talented.
Yeah.
He's likable. I don't know how entertaining he is. You know, it's hard to entertain a crowd for 2 and 3 hours, so I don't know how entertaining he is. But I like his mannerisms. I like the thing. I like his logic. And he was talking about this very thing. He said, "I try to be a gentleman. I try to go about things the right way. I'm a man of God, and I still get just absolutely annihilated by people that have a differing opinion." Think about that. That's exactly what we all go through. It's what Isaiah is going to go through. It's going to get bigger and stronger as we get more and more loud. I've been through it for a long time. That's why I get very frustrated with people that try to, frame you for something that you're not. But I was watching a clip from him yesterday. This guy, Miz, what is his name? Miz Raheem? Is that what it is? I don't mean to be disrespectful.
Hakeem,
I just
I
don't know.
think.
What is it?
Ramiz Hakeem, I think.
Ramiz Hakeem. Look him up real fast. And he goes by Miz.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
Ramiz Hakeem. That's right.
He put out a clip yesterday and it was going through my feed and I listened to it and I thought, man, first of all, a really, really nice job of explaining it. A very nice job of explaining himself and the situation that he's gotten himself into. Because he basically said, I'm a nice person. I'm a man of God. I try to use logic. I want to hear everybody's opinion. But no matter how nice I am about it, no matter how kind I am, no matter how gentle I am, the pushback on me is relentless. And that's the reality of it. That is the reality of it. That is why we should not be fighting with one another. That's the main reason we should not be fighting with one another. Because if you're in a war and you're on one side, do you want your side of the war fighting with each other when you know you have an enemy on the other side of the wall? No. And we have to understand that that's what's happening. The other side, which is the government at this particular time that's been infiltrated by multinational corporations and the intelligence agencies, probably been that way for a long time, but now they're hyping it up just a little bit because of technology. If we don't get on the same page, we're going to be destroyed from within. Matter of fact, not my guess. And it will be such a destruction that you won't even recognize that it happened because they know that with guns and they know with the John Wayne mentality of about 3% of this population, that why mess with it? We'll convince them to build their own prison. We'll just convince them that that's what's best for them. Remember when they told women they had to work, Isaiah? You got to get out there and get yourself a career. You're a nobody. You got to, which is all fine and dandy. I got no problem with it. But why did they want to do it? Why do you think the government and the media the media organizations back in the 60s wanted to get women out of the home and out into the workforce? Why would you guess? Destroys the family and creates 2 workers that pay taxes. That's who you're up against. You're up against the system that leaves your borders wide open as they create war in the Middle East, as they make enemies of America, and then they open the door to let them in. Open the door, let them in. Anybody know that one? I think that was Wings. It wasn't the Beatles, that was Wings, I think. Okay? This is the system that we live in. And COVID is the reason I'm so relentless on COVID is I just don't know how anybody that could get down on their knees and pray and say, God, please show me the way. Show me the light, which everybody should do every day. How could you look at what they did in COVID and not say, I want some retribution? I want accountability in my government. I want accountability with Sam Page. I want accountability for Sam Page. I don't want Sam Page to lose his election. I want Sam Page to be imprisoned. I want him to stand trial. I want to know how the Republican Party chose John Patterson to be the Speaker of the House. I want to understand that. Does anybody in the Republican Party want to explain it to us now? How do you pick John Patterson to be the Speaker of the House in the state of Missouri when John Patterson said that if you did not get vaccinated, you should not be able to get life-saving organ transplants. How do you put that person in charge? As a Republican.
Yeah, you think majority of Missouri Republicans are excited about the vaccine?
It's just incredible, Isaiah. It's embarrassing, really. It's embarrassing that you have so many good people within the Republican Party that refuse to engage in a real conversation with you.
Yeah.
Completely dismiss you. Oh, you don't really understand how it works, Rob. You don't get it. You just, you're just.
What do people tell you when you try to explain how Salem Media is run by Brad Parscale, who's a foreign agent of Israel? What do they say to you about that kind of stuff?
Nothing.
Oh, that's a good thing, right?
I could sit in front of almost every single person in the Missouri GOP and have a conversation about things that are occurring in the state of Missouri. And despite the fact that they're in charge, they can't do anything about it.
Mhm.
You guys make
Sometimes
all
they
the
don't
rules.
even know about it.
Yeah, you guys make all the rules, but you can't do anything about it. And then you're mad at us because you're stealing our homes from our families. You're selling our land to the Chinese. You're leaving our borders wide open. You had Mike Parsons say, when we're talking about illegal immigration, the former governor of Missouri, they're talking about illegal immigration in St. Charles County. He said, well, that's a federal program. There's nothing we can do about that. And I go, well, maybe check out a constitution there.
Oh, sorry. We can't help. Sorry.
Right. There's nothing we can do. Sorry about that. We apologize. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah. So what are we doing at the state level to prosecute the people who are hiring the illegals?
Well, here's the thing. This is a point I wanted to bring to your attention, Isaiah, because you're in the machine, right? You're an alderman. You're a Republican alderman in St. Clair. I want to understand the state of Missouri.
Republican for now.
Republican for now. I want to understand how the Republican Party in the state of Missouri, and the Democrats too, because I think they're on board with this as well. How in the world, I'm going to hopefully Max will come on tomorrow. It's his parents that are going through this. I think they're 83 and 86 years old. Health issues, Baptist preacher, people that I've known since I was a child. They are about ready to lose their home because they have medical issues in their 80s. They can't pay their property taxes.
Wow.
Think about that for just a second. And they can't pay their property taxes because the state of Missouri has come in and said, we did a little algorithm here, and this is what your house is worth. Not what you paid for it, but this is what your property taxes in and of themselves should be unconstitutional. That's number one, because you should be able to own property in this country. You should be able to own it, not rent it and lease it from the government. That's number one. I don't care what they pay for. I don't care if they pay for schools. I don't give a shit what they pay for it. It is unconstitutional to take a home away from somebody who has paid for it when they're in their 80s. And people that are involved in it in Bridgeton, Missouri, because let me tell you, when I'm going to get down on Bridgeton, Missouri, you have to understand what's getting ready to happen. Because when I get back to Missouri, we're going to cause some problems for these people. If this family loses their home, I'm going to lose every ounce of sanity that I have left. To make people in their 80s that are ill pay property taxes on some fictional number that you say their house is worth is unconscionable. And where is the state of Missouri? Where are they? Where's John Patterson? Where's Cindy O'Laughlin? Where's Mike Kehoe? Where are they? They don't do jack diddly ding dong about anything. Nothing. Everything that is a problem for the people of Missouri, they act like we're a-holes for bringing it to their attention. Stolen elections. Yet both parties say that the elections were stolen through the machines, and the Republican Party and Kurt Barr in St. Charles County go, there's no way we can count them by hand. You guys aren't smart enough to count them by hand. Too stupid to count them by hand. There's no way we could do that.
Everyone wants to eliminate property tax, and then he says, oh, we're going to eliminate income tax, actually. No one asked me for that, but it's what we're going to do.
And then put a scheme into place on top of everything else and make everybody who disagreed with it sound like they were Marxist, communist, tinfoil hat lunatics. That's what they did to us.
Mm-hmm.
And they want you to be gentle with them in your retribution.
I
don't want to be gentle.
I was telling someone the other day, I said, we were probably the first, political talk show that focuses on Missouri politics that came out against Amendment 5.
Oh yeah, right away.
And I credit our show and Act for Missouri and Shield Maidens primarily, but us giving a platform for folks to the reason why it went down is because we were able to help. We were a small part in helping getting that information out to people because they were doing such a good job, as I was talking about earlier, with the family from Washington, right? Mm-hmm. Who didn't know much about Missouri politics, just moved here, right? and how it kind of got over on them because they're new here and they weren't able to research it and it sounded good, right? And that's what they were hoping most people would do, right?
Absolutely.
Is that, hey, we want most people not to pay attention. They're so busy. We're just going to tell them we're axing the tax, right? Axe the tax. We're winning. You're a communist if you don't agree with us.
It's the way they do work it. That's exactly how they do it. I'm frustrated with Freedom Principle because I like Byron. I don't know him well enough to dislike him, and I like him, and my gut feeling is he's trying to do the right thing. And then they're constantly pecking on me. I said, I just put out onto social media, I said, is Amendment 3, this is the abortion bill in the state of Missouri, I said, is it designed to fail? And they reply back, in your own mind. And then I put out a clip yesterday, and it shows Governor DeSantis. Let's play it. Let's go to AI data centers. We go through a whole litany of things that the Republican Party is endorsing, that if it were the Democrat Party, the Republicans would lose their minds. If this were Barack Obama and a Democrat governor in the state of Missouri, let's say that it was let's say it was Muhammad was the governor of Missouri. Muhammad is the governor.
And he's a Democrat socialist.
Hear me out. So I want you to think about this. Everybody that's listening, I want you to think about this and maybe get this to our Republican friends in the state of Missouri. If Muhammad was the governor of Missouri and he was saying, we need AI data centers and flock cameras to watch your every move, would you want it? Huh? Would you want it then? Would you want the flock camera if it was Governor Muhammad running the state of Missouri, turban, the whole thing, wife coming out in a burqa, saying, listen, you guys don't understand. We got to think of all, and he says it with his Islamic accent or Muslim accent. I don't know what those accents sound like. But what we really need is to surveil your every move. And not only do we want to surveil it with the flock cameras, which we need for safety. You guys know how dangerous it is out here. We need it for your safety. We want to be able to store that information with AI data centers. And then think all the AI that you guys are going to be able to use. It's going to be so fantastic. We're going to surveil your every move, but you'll get to use AI at a decent cost. Isn't that a fair deal? If Muhammad was the governor of Missouri, the right-leaning people in this state would lose their marbles. But because it's a good old country guy like Mike Kehoe, car salesman, good old boy, out there with Scott Fawn riding around their pickup truck talking about Missouri politics.
I got my belt buckle.
Got my belt buckle and my rifle in the truck. Then it's okay. It's just, it's maddening. It is. It's maddening that people don't see this for what it is. And will argue with me and from now until forever, but will never debate me publicly. Which I want to be wrong. I just know that I'm not. I know that I'm not because they won't debate me publicly. They won't do it. Been trying for 5 years now?
Well, that's the new I guess that's the new standard for the Republican Party in America, Rob, is that if you don't debate, then you'll win your election. So if you don't debate your issue, then you might win the issue on the ballot, right?
They control these elections anyway. I don't know how many different ways they control them, but they manipulate the elections. There's no way these morons would be in charge if the elections were being manipulated. Let's do DeSantis number 13, all right?
Yeah.
This is what's going on in Florida. So I posted this on social media, and I said, here are the difference between the two GOPs, one in Florida and one in Missouri. And by the way, somebody put on my responded and said, I don't trust DeSantis. I said, I'm with you. I agree 100%. I'm just simply talking about data centers because you and I both know, Isaiah, when we spoke out against AI data centers, we had Dana Bowers on the show. Jake Jackson has spoke out against data centers. We're against data centers. I don't like them at all, even a little bit, not a tiny bit. It's kind of like the it's like the heroin deal. I don't want to just
we gotta specify because they try to
hyperscale.
Hyperscale data center, right? They try to use everything against us and say,
correct. Listen to what Ron DeSantis. He's Republican, right, Isaiah?
Oh yeah, they say. I was very surprised to hear that lady who said that because I think that probably 95% of Republicans in Florida would say that Ron DeSantis is Florida's greatest governor.
Yes, he's insanely popular here.
Yeah.
Absolutely insanely popular, Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida. That's primarily because of COVID. Honestly, that's what it is. Okay, so let's just listen to what Ron DeSantis is saying. Now, what Ron DeSantis is saying right here in this clip is something, if you've been paying attention to my show, our show, I should say, I shouldn't say my show, although it is
the Rob Carter Show.
We've been talking about this exact thing, exactly what he describes and more is the purpose behind the AI data centers. This is what they're all about. This is what they will do. And there's no benefit. They keep talking about the economic benefit for who?
Mm-hmm. If you don't
Who's
want it,
benefit
guess what? We'll
for?
use eminent domain and we'll just take your land.
Correct. Check it out. This is Ron DeSantis, clip number 13. We said the same thing. These groups came out, these supposed grassroots conservatives and Republicans in the state of Missouri said we were basically idiots, didn't care about the economy, tinfoil hat lunatics. Don't you want to use AI? You're using AI right now, aren't you, Rob? Let's listen to what Ron DeSantis says. He is a Republican as far as I can tell. Check it out.
And, a hyperscale data center is using enough power that'd be the equivalent of a city of 500,000 people. And in some of the bigger ones, maybe even more than that. You also have a lot of water consumption. You have a big geographic footprint, which has environmental concerns. And so you have all these things. And, our point of view is, you should not have to pay one dime more in utility costs, water, power, any of this stuff, because of this. These are some of the most wealthy companies in the history of humanity. They should not be able to offload costs onto people that are already strapped with high costs in other areas. And so, making sure that Floridians are protected against that, I think is really, really important. And I know a lot of people agree with that. The thing about the data centers is there's not really a big economic impact once they're created. Like, if it's constructed, people can make some money doing that. Obviously, there may be some jobs that can go. But once it's done, it employs like a half dozen people. And, these tech companies will likely bring in foreigners to do that on some visa, or they're not going to hire from your local community. That's just not what they do. So, from that, I think a lot of these communities are not supporting the construction in their area when they go before these boards now, because they're thinking like, okay, it's sucking a lot of resources, but is this really something that we need in our communities? It's something that's going to benefit the community. And by and large, this is across party lines. I think people are saying no dice on that. So I do think I think there's been a big sea change in how people have thought about that just in the last 6 to 9 months. And, it may be that some of the protections we have, end up being moot because it's just not something that's going to get any traction in Florida, period. But at the end of the day, this is not something that you should ever have to pay for, no subsidy, none of that, and we're going to make that very clear. We also...
Okay, now you see the very end of that, Isaiah?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Byron Donalds, who's running for governor, is talking about. Okay? What they're going to shift to, just so you understand how the political system works, they're all thieves. Start from the premise that the people in power that make decisions work for thieves. They're puppets for thieves. They are thieves. Start from that premise. I know you don't want to believe it. I know you think I'm a black pillar and I'm a this and that and the other. I just have faith in the American people and the people of Missouri and even the people in Florida to figure it out at some point. But they're thieves. They are thieves. Thieves. So what they're going to do now is they're going to say, well, you're not going to subsidize it. Okay, that's the wiggle room. So they're going to speak out against them, tell you they're not very good for you. But, if they're going to put them in, you guys aren't going to have to pay for them. You'll pay for them. Might not be under DeSantis. You might not pay for them. Remember how the Trump and Biden administration worked with COVID? Just think of how many people in your life have said, Donald Trump didn't mandate him. He didn't mandate him, Rob. You come on now. He did. You got him to know he didn't mandate him. Oh no, they were going to just take my job away from me. Wouldn't let me travel and made me wear a mask for 6 months. But that was okay. I guess that was fine. The arguments are infantile. They really are. I know people love Donald Trump beyond anything that I can comprehend anymore. But you have to recognize that he was complicit in the selling of genetic therapies to the entire effing planet. He's no different than these people I'm getting ready to play for. Let me give you Chris Cuomo, for example. Remember I told you Mario Cuomo. Look up Mario Cuomo. Was he governor? I think he was.
He was governor. Yep.
Was he governor or mayor?
No, he's governor of New York.
He's governor. Okay, so Mario Cuomo was the governor.
I'll double check here, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, governor of New York.
Right too.
Yep.
Mario Cuomo was the governor of New York. Mario Cuomo was the attorney for Donald Trump's father, Fred Trump. That's who so they're connected with one another. So then what happens with the Cuomos? They have Mario Cuomo attached to the Trumps because again, Mario Cuomo, former governor of New York, was the attorney for Mario Cuomo. Then you have Chris Cuomo go over to CNN and sell the vaccines. What was the other? What's the goofy? What is his name? Why can't I think of his name? Who was the governor of the most recent Cuomo?
Andrew
Cuomo. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have Andrew Cuomo doing his COVID. You got to get your COVID shots right away every day. He was doing a simultaneous broadcast to Donald Trump, convincing everybody in the country. And I remember my aunt. I love my aunt. I know she is probably listening, and she'll get mad at me for this. I really like that Andrew Cuomo. See, he's better than Trump. You know, when he comes on and he's selling these vaccines and he's telling everybody to get their vaccines, he just seems more presidential to me. I said, Andrew Cuomo sounds presidential to you? We got to get our medicines tightened up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Cuomo is even a bigger fraud than the other people that were selling COVID. But here's Chris Cuomo. Now, Chris Cuomo went from CNN over to News Nation. Chris Cuomo went on the Patrick Bet-David show and said, I never spoke out against ivermectin. Chris Cuomo on his show, as those clips were showing you, almost every single night, we're calling people who didn't get vaccinated boobs, dummies, and ultimately murderers. Any repercussions from him? You think if I did that, Isaiah, I'd be okay? Or do you think they would? I'd be in a little bit of trouble? But what he did is he said, you know what? I'll just go work for News Nation now and give myself a big fat check over here at News Nation. And if you pay attention to all of these news people, and I put news in quotation marks, that bounce from CNN over to Fox News, over to NBC News, over to CBS News, back to Fox News, over to CNN, back to MSNBC. If you pay attention to that network of people, you'll get to see what the club is. You'll get to see the people that should be defined as enemies of the American people. You'll see their faces. Here's Chris Cuomo, clip number 6. Check this guy out.
Dr. Atlas, okay, a guy with no pandemic experience. He literally would know more if he stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. He's saying, hey, you in Michigan, these measures to help try to control the spread, fight back. Are you kidding me? Shame on you. What kind of doctor would tell people to rise up and resist the only kind of prophylaxis that can help them? What the hell is the matter with this person? Rise up. You rise up and do your job or get the hell out. How could you give this kind of advice? Of course, Fauci was being measured. He says, I don't agree with his position. This isn't Fauci's fight. The science is obvious. This is about Trump and the Trumpers. He's going to have his main health guy stand up and say, fight back against the regulations to keep you safe. Listen to him. I'm not making it up.
And this kind of isolation is one of the unspoken tragedies of the elderly who are now being told, don't see your family at Thanksgiving. For many people, this is their final Thanksgiving, believe it or not. What are we doing here?
What the hell are you doing here? Yeah, it could be their last Thanksgiving. If you expose them to people who aren't wearing masks, who aren't socially distancing, and haven't been doing so, and haven't gotten tested, because they somehow think they don't want to get in on the con of COVID. You know, you want to hide on state news, you do it. But someday, you're going to have to deal with real questions. And either you're going to come on a show or you're going to do it, but you know what? We may go back to old school, and maybe the questions will come find you. Maybe when you're living your life nice and easy, because you don't have the concerns that these same people that you're telling to rise up, that they have. Maybe the questions will come and find you, because you have to answer for that kind of guidance, let alone as a doctor. Do no harm? Invite grandma? This could be her last Thanksgiving? Yeah, if you invite her to a place where she can get sick and die. Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and you know what? We do have to think about what we're thankful for. And we also have to think about what we're thankful for getting past, okay? Because this ignoring the science, this is crazy.
Oh, doesn't it make you want to take a shower after watching him?
Yeah. So funny that he's like, you play a Fox News clip. Oh, what are you doing?
Oh, what sells, Isaiah? What sells? Fear sells.
Yeah.
Sex sells. Fear sells. You can sell to people's ego. There's a lot of way to sell things. If If I want to sell security systems in a neighborhood, let's say my whole life is selling security systems, let a couple people get murdered in my neighborhood, and we'll see how many people put in security systems. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the fear. They sold fear for months on end. And because Donald Trump gave a little bit of a pushback on it, people went, well, Rob, you're just not understanding. I mean, it was Rob. No, I saw it. I watched it firsthand. I watched it every day, paid attention to it, made notes on it, talked about it, saw it, and understand it. Donald Trump, whether you like him, don't like him, whether you think he's the greatest president of all time, to say that he didn't orchestrate this is just burying your head in the sand. That's all it is, just burying your head in the sand. I know that he tried to give you hydroxychloroquine. I got it. I know that he put Scott Atlas in there for a minute and then had to take him out. Got it. But he also did daily press conferences on COVID that was no more dangerous than any respiratory flu that you might have from now until the beginning of time. And you know how you know that is because you get to watch it. Your friends that died went into the hospital, didn't they? Did anybody drop dead from COVID like they did in China? For my liberal friends, do you remember how COVID was sold to us originally? Do you remember? This is for all my Democrat friends that absolutely love COVID. It was the greatest time in their lives. They absolutely hated everybody that didn't get their mask on. If you didn't have your mask on, they flipped their lid. They didn't even want to talk to people who didn't get their COVID shots. Those people, do you remember how they sold it originally? Isaiah remembers. They sold it by showing pictures on CNN International of Chinese people walking in the streets and collapsing dead from COVID. And I ask, through 2 years of the COVID con job, did anybody in your life walk down the street and die from COVID? And if the answer is no, can you assume that it was propaganda they were selling? Aligned with China, our biggest enemy in the world? Can we assume that we're aligned with China when Dr. Anthony Fauci was building gain-of-function technology in Wuhan? Can we assume? Can we assume that we're in bed with China when we bring in 600,000 students to fill up our colleges? Can we assume that maybe we're in bed with China? Can we assume we're in bed with China when we make all of our product in China and they buy up all of our bonds?
Mm-hmm.
Can we assume that we're working together? Can we maybe assume that for just a second? Maybe when they buy our farmland? Maybe when they start, when they got a chauffeur working for Feinstein up in Florida or in California? Maybe when Swalwell is dating a Chinese spy? Maybe when the leader of the Senate is married to a Chinese spy? Maybe we recognize it. Maybe CNN and Fox News will get on that sometime soon and start telling us what's going on in the real world. You think that'll happen? No, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The more you pay attention to it, it should be taken off of our news. You should demand that Fox News and CNN go away. You should demand that they go away if you want a free society. If you don't want a free society and you want to live like what we used to talk about with the Soviet Union, if you want to live in that system and pretend that you're free because you got 17 different toothpastes you can buy with all your selection, but they won't fix the election system, then let's continue down this path. It's very sad. It is. And the more I watch it and the more I get attacked by my own side, the more it really just drives me crazy. I say to the Republican Party in Missouri, I'm against abortion. I want lower taxes. I want safe streets. I want accountability for people that lied to us. I want communication with my government. Where do you disagree? Where do they disagree, Isaiah? Do you have any idea? Because if you agree with everything that I'm saying, then why are you constantly trying to peck away at me? I want what you tell me that you want as well.
Mm-hmm.
Does Freedom Principle want clean elections, Isaiah?
That's what they say. They want free and fair elections, right?
Do they want our groundwater to be safe to drink?
Yeah. Yep.
Do they want a surveillance state where we're being monitored at all times?
Don't think so.
Then what's the problem? Why do they keep saying, Rob, you're in Florida? Like
it's not a surveillance state, Rob.
You're in Florida, Rob. Why don't you pay attention to Florida? That's what they say to me all the time. I'm like, you guys think that my audience doesn't know that I'm in Florida?
Yeah.
I swear I'm in Florida. I'm in Florida.
It's going to be some like revelatory experience for people all of a sudden, Rob. That's what they expect, right? I was thinking earlier when you're saying if I never saw anyone fall over on the ground walking around that died because of COVID. But you know who I did see fall over and seem to have issues or almost die on the ground?
Who?
Soccer players.
Yeah.
Football players that were vaxxed.
After they got vaccinated.
Not only were they vaxxed, they're double vaxxed,
Yep. Did you see this from Michael Compton?
Oh, yeah. I threw that up earlier.
Now, you think that this is a system that's working on your behalf? I would just want people to be honest. I want Republican voters. I want those Republican Central Committees. I want the Freedom Principle. What's the other one called? The Missouri Sentinel? What?
Yeah, the Sentinel something. Oscar.
Yeah, good guy. I like him. I want you to start answering some of those questions. Just answer these questions. Do you think that the state of Missouri should be putting up surveillance systems all across our neighborhoods, our streets, and our highways for our own safety? Is that something that you guys agree with? And if you disagree with it, I don't know if they disagree with it, Isaiah, but let's say that you disagree with it. Why aren't you saying anything about it? Why aren't you guys active like Jake Jackson? Why aren't you active like Dana Bowers?
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you active like Isaiah? What are you waiting on? Or are you for it? Are you for total surveillance as Republicans? Is that what you're for? Is that what the Republican Party is now for? Total surveillance of its citizens for our own safety?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're for now? Because it seems
their excuse is, they don't want the government and intervention into a private business, but the government is the one doing the contracts with the private business.
The government is a business. That's all it is. It's nothing more than a business.
Well, that's the Republican platform, right? Is that they don't want to be involved in private industry. And so that's what they're going to fall back on. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, the government, we don't want the government. Okay, well then why is, if the government wasn't the one doing the business with Flock and, really the only people doing business with Flock and Axon and these people that have these cameras, maybe you could have an argument that could hold up there. But if Flock lost all of its government contracts right now, Rob, do you think that they would be able to survive as a company?
Oh, of course
exactly.
Not. They're license plate readers that track you, and they want the AI data center so they can track you and store it.
Yeah, that's my point.
That's what it's all about. It's a surveillance system they've been warning about for decades, and now it's here.
Yeah, it might be private. Private, right?
They're implementing it right now before our eyes. But people paying attention to government have been warning about a surveillance system in this country for 40 years. 40 years, citizens have pushed back against surveillance systems in this country. 9/11 happened. George Bush, the son of the former CIA director G.H.W. Bush, started to implement these systems. Then you have Obama. Then you have Trump. Then you have Biden. And now you're back to Trump. Those are Democrats and Republicans, I understand, right? Obama was a Democrat. Biden was a Democrat. Bush was a Republican. Trump is a Republican. And it still moves in the same direction. Isn't that amazing? It's just incredible how it just continues to build. And they do more. The reason I may convince my audience to go out and vote for Democrats, you can clip this too for Freedom Principle, because they love those Republicans so much. The reason I'm starting to understand why these people on the other side are saying go vote for Democrats is because when you vote for Democrats, the Republican voter wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like something goes off and they go, oh, we got to stop the Democrats, so let's block. But when the Republicans do it, they say, must be good.
That's Nick Fuentes' strategy that he's been trying to play out that he talks about is he says that he wants the midterms, but not the presidential. He's not planning on telling people to vote Democrat. It's just for the midterms to kind of, the goal is to wake them up, right? Because if they lose majority, then that's where it's like, oh my gosh, we actually got to help our people out.
Think of this, Isaiah, because I think Michael Compton he's always right. And he just said that the Jefferson City, the capital of Missouri, just re-upped the Flock camera safety systems, right? At the same exact time, People's Lobby Missouri, Shield Maidens of Missouri, and Act 4 Mo have solicited to and begged for the Senate in the state of Missouri to live stream proceedings so the citizens can watch their government at work, and they've done nothing. So they're going to surveil you at every turn. And when you say we want to surveil you, they say we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And get that on the schedule. We'll look at it maybe next session. Maybe we'll get to it, but not right now. We'll get to it a little
I
bit
am
later.
hopeful next session after talking to Lieutenant Governor Wassinger.
But it's not important to them is my point.
Yeah. Yeah. How fast did they renew that contract in one night?
It's depressing. Let's do a little advertising.
Yeah. I want to show you something you're going to enjoy.
We'll do it now?
Well, we can do some advertising then, whatever you want to do, but I'll tell you what it is. And then you tell me if you want to do advertising first. Just going through the comments on Facebook from that Freedom Caucus video that they put out with Tim Jones and Nick Schroer.
Yep.
I think you just enjoy going through the comments there. So
let's
do
that.
Do it now.
Let me do the advertising, then we'll do it. Because I have a ton of stuff to get to. I got like 20 clips that I wanted to play to prove my point.
And we're not having Max on today. I realized you didn't told me that today. So he's coming on tomorrow.
I think he's going to come on tomorrow. Yeah, he's going to get some stuff done. He's trying to save his parents' home.
I understand. I just wanted to make sure I didn't need to send him an email. I didn't want him sitting there saying, "Where the heck is that link, Isaiah? What are you doing?"
Isaiah, is it sad though when you think about it? Now these are people I've known since I was in high school.
Well, that was an issue that my wife's grandparents had. Same issue.
They're in their 80s, and Bridgeton, Missouri, and the state of Missouri is going to take their home from them in their 80s with health problems because they can't pay property taxes on a house that they own because they've inflated first of all, they shouldn't pay them at all, but inflated the supposed value of the home, and then they tax them on what they say it's worth. They could say, listen, we need to make an extra $1 billion in Missouri. Just raise everybody's property taxes by 20%.
My goodness.
This is what they're doing under Republican leadership. How in the world do people put up with it? I'm just fascinated by it. What would it take to revolt? What would it take? What would it take in America right now to get the citizens to say we've had enough of this? Donkey Kong time. What would it take? Stealing the home, taking the home, stealing, theft of a home from people in their 80s because you've overassessed the value of their home through an AI algorithm. And if they can't pay it because they've got medical bills and they're on a fixed income, you're going to take their home from them, throw it on an auction block, and let BlackRock come in and buy it. That's Missouri. That's how we roll. It angers me, and I have to calm down because I get that blood pressure thing going on, Isaiah. You can feel it, and I want to start. I just want to,
Well, it's like, oh, you'll yell at China. They're buying all our farmland. They're driving up the prices, and then you'll completely ignore everything that's happening domestically.
What do we have a government for?
Exactly.
What's the purpose of it?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of a government? If a government steals your home from you when you're in your 80s, isn't that a sign that the government isn't your pal? The government should be blocking private industry from being able to do this, and they're doing it as public servants and think nothing of it.
Mm-hmm.
They think nothing of it. They could care less.
Yeah.
And who's been in charge of Missouri, Isaiah? Who's in charge of Missouri? Is it the Democrats?
Republicans for a long time.
Are the Muslims in charge of Missouri? Are the liberals, the Muslims?
Ban Sharia law. So nope.
Who's in charge of Missouri, Isaiah?
Used car salesman, Republican, Freemason, Mike Kehoe.
They see nothing wrong with what we're talking about. They flat do not care. They don't care. And you should care. If you have parents in that situation, you're going to care.
Welcome to the USSA. That's so funny, John.
So true. All right. Let me get this out and then we'll go to
That's why you need to donate to People's Lobby.
This is why I ask. Listen, if anybody was thinking clearly, we're asking for $5 and $10 a month from as many people as we can get because you're going to have to organize at some point. Why wait till it's too late, Isaiah? Does it make any sense to wait till it's too late?
Yeah. You don't want to lose all your rights. And once you lose all your rights and you start fighting, it's too late.
Look what they're doing to you. Look what the state of Missouri is doing to our people. Maddening. PeoplesLobbyMissouri.com. PeoplesLobbyMo.com. We're a marketing organization that puts pressure on the government, and we need numbers, we need people, we need money, we need organization. We have some young people reaching out. If you guys are listening today, I'll be in touch with you soon. We're going to get our state back in order. The Freedom Principle is like, well, you live in Florida, you're a resident of Florida. I said, yeah, I'd like to move back to Missouri. It would be nice. My wife and I have talked about it. But I'd like Missouri to clean up their act just a little bit if that'd be okay with everybody. You know what Governor DeSantis is talking about doing down here? So is Paul Renner. They're both running for governor. They say if you will not pay property taxes on your home if it's under $1 million.
Wow.
That's what they're putting forth. Is Missouri doing something like that? Is there any legislation? Isaiah, with their multi-subject bills, can they throw that on there somewhere? peopleslobbymo.com. Sign up, donate. We'd love a donation. We need the donations. We need the donations, and we'll do a lot of work for you. We'll do more work for you than anybody else because we're not afraid of anything. We're not worried about the repercussions. We answer to Jesus Christ only. That's the only person that guides us on our mission. That's it. Nobody else. We're not worried about Democrats and Republicans. We're not worried about Muslims and Jews. We're not worried about any of it. We bring it to your attention. We make the decisions. We control our own fate. We control our own destiny, so long as we control our government that governs us. That's it. And we must control our government because right now, left to their own devices, they allow 3 people to make all the decisions. Those 3 people are controlled by corporate interest. And if you get in the middle of that, well, too bad, so sad. It's that simple. That's exactly the way the Missouri government works. And it's tiresome and ridiculous, unrelenting, and it's got to stop. That's my opinion. All right, let's go rocketcareers.com, Isaiah. I think he's going to come on the show soon, by the way, my buddy Mitch.
Talk about Epstein?
He'll blow your mind.
Nice.
Rocketcareers.com, ROCKIT careers.com. Very quickly, because we're in a hurry today. Everybody knows about rocketcareers.com. If you have a small to medium-sized business and human resources cannot get the job done for you, they keep putting these crappy candidates in front of you, and you just don't know who to hire because you can't get good talent, you lean on and you call rocketcareers.com. We'll take care of you. They get the right people in the right positions for you. Rocketcareers.com, ROCKIT careers.com. And then if you are an employee who hate your job, or maybe you're even out of work, maybe the bills are stacking up and you're starting to panic a little bit, get a hold of rocketcareers.com. They have a network from coast to coast. This is a networking business from coast to coast, and they will help you launch a new career. Rocketcareers.com, ROCKIT careers.com. You can reach them at 636-778-2419, 636-778-2419. And we have Advanced Wellness MED. Is our good friend, Dr. Helen Gelhart. Love Dr. Helen Gelhart and her husband, Paul, and everything that she's trying to do for the people of Missouri. She's been wonderful to us. She has, I would just want to, before we even get to her practice, I want to remind everybody that the Shield Maidens of Missouri, very important, Shield Maidens of Missouri are speaking tomorrow night, Wednesday night, at 7 p.m. at the Afton Police Station. Title: Dropping Legislative Truth Bombs That Affect Your Everyday Life. If you have not seen the Shield Maidens in person, I suggest you get there. You're going to learn more about what goes on in Missouri than at any other time in your life. They know what's going on. Lisa spends her entire life down there paying attention to what goes on in the Missouri government. Wednesday, August 19th at 7 p.m., Afton Police Station, 11500 Gravoy Road, 63126. For questions, you can call them at 314-332-0337. But just remember, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, 7 p.m., Afton Police Station, Shield Maidens of Missouri. You will not be disappointed. If you want to learn about what's going on in the world and in Missouri, pay attention to what Stacy and Lisa have to say. Now, advancedwellnessmed.com. This is Helen Gelhart. I say she specializes in all things that will kill you. As she likes to say, Isaiah, as she likes to say, feel, think, look better, and live longer. Here's what she practices. If you are suffering or know somebody who is suffering, family or friend, from Alzheimer's or dementia, it has to be the first call that you make. Got to be the first call. You got to do it now. Once you get that under control, it will save your loved ones from a slow, steady downhill decline cognitively. You got to stop that as fast as you can. They have techniques to reverse the symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia. She also does pre-screenings for heart attacks and strokes. She has the earliest cancer detection blood test available. Great people, great practice, not stuck in a hospital system, not stuck in those systems at all. So she does great work, no guardrails, best care possible. AdvancedWellnessMed.com. Dr. Helen Gelhart, 314-576-0094. Then we got JonesWater.com. I just saw that he texted me. All right. JonesWater.com, JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. Let me see what he's got going on here. I thought he might have me selling something. I remember with Everett Jones and JonesWater.com, because the one thing that I often forget to mention is the dehumidifier systems. If you're in Missouri, middle of summer, and you have a dehumidifier system, you're going to get crisp, clean air when you walk in your home. It's going to save you on your energy bills. Because if you say, you know, what do you set your temperature at, Isaiah? My wife likes it around 75 in the house.
Yeah, 75.
Okay, she's got it.
We
at
have new
75.
insulation, so it stays pretty good.
But he says with a dehumidifier in the state of Missouri, if you like it at 75, you can set it at 77 in the summertime. It'll feel exactly the same. You'll save on your energy bills, and you'll have clean, fresh air in your home. Clean air, clean water, dehumidifier systems, JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. As he likes to say, you'll be the filter, or you'll buy the filter, JonesWater.com. If you want to do business with Everett in the state of Missouri, St. Charles County, Lincoln, Franklin, Warren, St. Louis, and Jefferson. If you go to the east side, the dark side, the Illinois side, Madison, Monroe, Jersey, and St. Clair. JonesWater.com. First thing to a happy, healthy home is clean air and clean water. Don't forget that, Mom and Dad. First thing to a happy, healthy home is clean air and clean water in your home and or your business. You'll be the filter, or you'll buy the filter, JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. Let's do Grace Hauling as well. GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com. This is my good friend, Gary Schneider. What a great guy this man is. Think of all the things he does for the political environment in St. Charles County. And then you look around and you go, man, I see Grace Hauling trucks everywhere. When I say Grace Hauling and you drive around St. Charles County, you're going to see Grace Hauling trucks everywhere you look. You're going to see their cans and their dumpsters everywhere because people like doing business with Gary Schneider. He says, Rob, we pride ourselves on outstanding customer service. We are competitively priced. And I said, what else do you want me to say about your business, Gary? And he said, I don't know, Rob, but for the grace of God, I wouldn't have such a thriving business. How about that? Been around since 1998, a finer man you will not meet. For residential customers, trash, recyclables, yard waste, bulk pickups. If you're commercial businesses, 2, 4, 6, and 8-yard dumpsters, GraceHauling.com. 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 All right. What do you got on there with the comments? Now, are these comments on Facebook, Isaiah, or?
Yeah, on Facebook.
Okay, so this is the Freedom Caucus, and I loathe doing this. I really do, because not everybody in my circles likes these two guys. I worked with them both. That's what I say about some of these people. I don't know if they're not recognizing the temperament of the people that are up against them. I think at 83-17 on Amendment 5 going down, that might show you where the world is heading. Did you see CNN and these polling that they have on Donald Trump, Isaiah? Did you see this in the big red states?
What? No. I've been following the average polling, and he's at 30-something%.
They did somebody sent that Mark, the guy from Rasmussen. He cited one of the polls and he put it out onto social media today. I'm trying to get this guy on the show. Mark Mitchell's his name. And he said, look at these numbers. And it was Donald Trump's numbers in some of the biggest red state, Texas, down between 9 and 11 points, which is just a massive downtrend. And I really think it is because the Republican Party is so out of touch. The Democrat Party has been out of touch with my belief system for a long time, but I didn't think the Republican Party was so out of touch. But I'm starting to wonder, this commercial to me.
Yeah.
This commercial to me is something you do when times are getting better, when times are good, when people are going, hey, things are loosened up a little bit. I'm okay. Not when people are losing their homes because they can't pay the property taxes. Not when you're a continual war. Not when your society feels like they're one paycheck away from a complete and total disaster. You don't play, as my mom said, you don't play slap ass when there are things to do. But here's the video. This is on social media. This is from the Missouri Freedom Caucus, which, if you don't know, if you're around the country, you're like, what is the Freedom Caucus? Where have I heard that before? That is Jim Jordan's baby. And they franchised it out to the states. Here is Tim Jones and
I guess I'll play the video first. I was just looking at the comments, but
let people see it.
Let me
and if people like it, then good. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll have to reshare it here. I stopped the audio because I wasn't planning on playing it. Sorry. 1 second. There we go. So this is the video, and then we'll go and look at the comments here in a second.
Missouri State Director for the State Freedom Caucus Network. You all know there's a big, giant, deep swamp in Washington, D.C., but did you know that there is a state swamp in every state in the country? That's what the Missouri Freedom Caucus and all the Freedom Caucus member states are fighting every single day. The big giant state swamp likes to criticize the Missouri Freedom Caucus. They like to belittle us. They like to say we're not effective, or we're not big enough, or we're not mighty enough. Why is it then that more conservative legislation has passed since the Missouri Freedom Caucus was begun just 3 years ago than in the previous decade combined? That's because despite their criticism and saying that we're not big enough, or we're not strong enough, or we're not effective enough, we are truly mighty. We may not be huge in numbers, but we are mighty in our power. And every single time the big state swamp tries to belittle us, we say hello to my little friend.
Freedom!
All right, now I'll pull up the comments here. Sorry, I had to play it a different way so everyone could see it here. Now I can pull this back up. All right, so these are the comments, Rob. So you saw the video, right?
The video is entertaining, but I just don't know.
Oh,
if it's, I don't know if it's good.
So this is one of the first comments. I love the new branding, which was a positive comment, right? Let me turn off our comments so it doesn't overlap there. And this is the first one I came on. I was for you guys and thought you were really on our side until you were promoting Amendment 4 and 5 before the election, right along with all the other swamp creatures.
That's not good.
And then they're, cutting taxes and protect our Constitution from being invaded by out-of-state billionaires is still something we're in favor of, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And then how come the politicians can't get money away from outside the state? I agree on cutting taxes, but we have to pay some taxes to fund our government. I choose cutting property tax over income tax.
That's what everybody wants,
right?
But they're not hearing that.
Yeah, so that's that conversation there. But like swamp getting deeper should be called Missouri Fascist Caucus. You're a beep for running away. Thought it was incredibly likely that Nimrod Nick would have accidentally set you on fire. I like Nick, but I understand what they're saying. You are the swamp. Prove it. The Freedom Caucus is a misnomer. There's no freedom in poverty. Cutting taxes that support our schools, teachers, and students who are already struggling is not freedom. And I was probably a more left-leaning person, but this is the voters of Missouri, right? The Freedom Caucus wants to ban the freedom to get an abortion, huh? This is awful. People should be embarrassed. So I was freedom to bootlick, I suppose. I mean, I don't see.
Is that just Democrats coming in though and hijack?
I know, that's what I wonder, right? Hegseth must have slipped in some. That's what I'm wondering, right? Because like this one, see. So but that's what I saw that's what I thought, Rob. But then when I saw the mixture here, there's a mixture, and then I saw conversations like this happening. I was like, man, I don't think it is just Democrats. You know what I mean? Because
I don't think it's good messaging. That's just my take on it.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's good messaging. I do not think the Republican brand is popular right now.
I mean, and if you had supporters, they would be defending you against those Democrats, if they are even Democrats.
That's the point I was going to make too. Because even if it's Democrats that are coming in, if Republican voters believed that things were going really well and the Missouri Freedom Caucus was kicking ass and the GOP in Missouri was really doing good things for them, you'd see people come to their defense.
Exactly.
Right. And I don't know. The messaging seems a little.
I don't see that with them or Freedom Principle. Those two organizations, I don't see anyone coming to their defense. I didn't see with Americans for Prosperity either. The people that were coming to the defense for Americans for Prosperity, every time I looked into where they work, Rob, they were either on staff for one of the politicians that's pushing Amendment 5, as like on their campaign staff, or a legislative assistant or a chief of staff for someone that works in Jefferson City. And so it's not the people, right, that are supporting these ideals or supporting these organizations. So I don't know where they're coming up with these ideas that they're saying that they're grassroots. They are the grassroots, and just doesn't seem to be the case.
I think they're both conservative guys. I do.
Of course, that's why I said I'm not saying that they're.
I do. I think they're conservative guys. I believe with it, and this makes people in my circles nuts. If you understand what I'm saying, it just makes them nuts. But I think that Nick Strower I think he wants to do the right things. I think that I think he's a conservative guy. I root for him personally because I worked with him and I liked him when I worked with him. But there's a lot of people that hate his guts, for multiple different reasons, and most of them are political. But I just wish that somebody in the Missouri Freedom Caucus would reach out to the grassroots community and say, listen, we do hear you. We hear you. Why don't you work with us to try to get some of these things done? Help me.
Yeah,
Help you.
work with the shield maidens, right?
Why do we have to be at odds if we say we want the same things? That's what I don't get. All the shield maidens are doing is getting it right when it comes to the language within the legislation. That's what they're getting right. They are getting it right.
They don't like that because they don't want people to be informed.
But why be mad at them because they're getting the language?
Exactly.
Let's say that you write a bill and this bill is meant to solve a problem, but within the language of the bill that you probably didn't write, somebody else wrote. And within the language of the bill, she goes, "Wait a minute, I see a problem here. If this gets passed, here's what's going to go down. This is the way it's going to get exploited." And instead of going, "You're such a liar. We don't need to do that. You're such an idiot. It's never going to happen." Why don't you just say, "You know what? We'll just change that bill real quick. Let's knock that out. Let's talk about it and let's fix it."
And you know what's funny is that they started saying things along those lines right when we got right up to the election. Because I imagine they were starting to see the polling and realize, oh no, this is going to go down in flames. And that's when I brought up, you remember, I said, oh, I never listened to Tim and Chris before, but I just tuned in. And Tim happened to be talking about, well, if it doesn't pass, we'll just, what we got to do is we got to go back and write better legislation, for these people, blah, blah, blah. It's like, now you're saying that, right? On, the
Chris Harps implied that I was a racist, Isaiah.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And an anti-Semite. You're a good guy, Rob, but he said I hear the dog whistle. Remember when the dog whistle thing from the left?
Yeah.
If you say it's a dog whistle, whatever that means, I guess it's like you blow it and we can't hear it, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
You're anti-Semitic and racist and all this other stuff, and I'm like, man.
Jeez.
To me, that's where you lose me, right? If you say, Rob, I disagree with you, you're wrong on this particular issue. This is the way I think it's going to go down. You're making a huge mistake. You should be for this, and here's why. We can have a conversation all day long on the merits of an issue. But when you start to call me racist and whatever you want to call me, anti-Semitic,
are you racist just because of your views on Israel?
I would assume that's what it was all about. Yeah. Right. Well, him and Tim went to
laughable.
Israel. They went to Israel and broadcast from Israel, don't you?
No way.
Yes, Chris Arps and Tim Jones went to Israel and did one of their shows from Israel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Make
That's
that
wild.
I got to play this video because I want to get.
Of course.
I got to see what you think of it. This is Kelly Loeffler. Okay, now she was a senator in Georgia. I have some Kelly Loeffler stories that very quickly. When Donald Trump supposedly lost the election in 2020, so it was after the November elections. Then he does a rally in Valdosta, Georgia. I've talked about it many times. Kelly Loeffler was one of the people that was there because he was campaigning for Kelly Loeffler and Perdue because they wanted both of these senators to win to keep control of the Senate. This is back in 2020. So they needed both of the Georgia elections were coming up, and he was advocating for Kelly Loeffler and Perdue to win their Senate seats to keep control of the Senate through Georgia, basically, the U.S. Senate. And Kelly Loeffler was there. I saw Kelly Loeffler, and this doesn't look like Kelly Loeffler that I saw there on that night. She's out there now. She is the head of the Small Business Administration, and she does this video, very awkward video. And this is all over social media. And remember when I said the boob tube? This would be the boob tube right here. Because it's, I don't know if this has been AI generated. It says that it hasn't. But you tell me if this is a normal neck. This is going all over social media. And I'm assuming that it's AI generated, but this is being passed around by major players within the alternative media space. I saw this video when it first came out. If you can get past the neck, she's holding a folder with nothing in it. This is all very contrived and staged. And again, aren't people just getting tired of this fake boob tube narrative controlled nonsense? Kelly Loeffler, everybody, check this video out. Check out the neck, and you tell me if this is real or not.
Administrator, we have some questions for you here at TikTok.
What's going on, Mac?
First of all, are you in the cabinet?
Well, actually I am. After I had an incredible conversation with the president by phone to become SBA administrator,
right
he
there.
texted me and said, actually, you're going to...
Now, what's going on with the neck? Can that possibly be somebody's neck?
I know.
Seriously.
It's crazy. I mean, the worst thing that she did, right, is the choker necklaces. She's got like 5 choker necklaces around her neck.
Yeah. Look at the folder.
Oh, yeah. That's
folder
my
has nothing
favorite.
in it. She
That's
puts
my
the folder
favorite.
down. She's carrying a folder like she's going to school, and there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
It's just so bizarre to me. And you know who Kelly Loeffler is? Look up Kelly Loeffler.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's the neck. We don't need to play the whole thing because it just gets more and more bizarre. Kelly Loeffler is married to a billionaire and has major power now because I guess she's smarter than you and I because she's married to a billionaire. Well, I guess she is, right? I guess if you marry a billionaire, you're smart. That's the way people look at things nowadays. The more money you have, the sharper and taller and more awesome you are. Kelly Loeffler, who's she married to? Look at that personal life in there. Let's find out what's going on with her.
Yeah. Let's see here. I was trying to see if let's see what her early life was looking like.
I want to stick her neck out and do something crazy.
Where's education? Where you see it?
I don't think she went to any place in particular.
No, DePaul. So she's a normal Illinois.
Yep.
Person.
Spouse. There he is. Jeffrey. What's he do?
Oh, there it is.
Spouse. Yeah, right
Sprecher.
there. Yeah. Look at that.
Look at that guy. Whoa.
He's a looker.
He looks like a goblin.
She married a goblin with big money, and now she's in the administration, running small business administration.
Oh, he's the chairman of the New York Stock Exchange, Rob.
No way. The Trump administration would never do that, would they?
We care about small business,
We
Rob.
care about small businesses. That's why my husband's on the New York Stock Exchange. We really care about your small businesses. Talk to the people at MMTLP. I got a call from one of the members yesterday, Isaiah. I was at Publix and I get a call from this lady, and she wants me to bring on one of these guests that talks about how naked shorting kills the over-the-counter markets. Now, I did business on the over-the-counter market because I worked for a publicly traded company. I was the president of a publicly traded company out of San Diego at the time. They had a stock price of almost near $14, and then their business model started to suffer. Just market pressures. There was nothing really nefarious going on. And the stock had been driven down into under $1, like 80 something cents. And we were on the over-the-counter markets. So I'm familiar with how they work. Over-the-counter markets are used for people. Now, most seasoned investors don't want to play with the OTC markets. They've seen the Wolf of Wall Street, right? So they don't want to play with OTC markets and penny stocks and that kind of thing. But if you're in the business that I was in, right, you have a $14 stock, it goes to under $1, now you're on the OTC. I could easily go out to investors and say, wait a minute, I've been in the shoe business for 25 years. I have connections with every single person who buys shoes in America from the major retailers on down, and we're going to rebuild this brand. We need marketing money. We see a hole in the market. We know exactly what we want to do, and this will be a billion-dollar business in 10 years, so long as we have the income to grow it there. They don't want you doing that anymore. These big companies that are at odds with these smaller companies they're naked shorting them and driving down their stocks, according to the people at MMTLP. Naked shorting means counterfeit shares to drive down the price of your stock until you go into bankruptcy and you can't get any more money. Nobody will invest with you anymore. It's the big Goliaths destroying the little Davids.
Yep.
And what she got doing with COVID? I bet she was all for COVID.
Oh, I just was perusing really quickly, Rob, and I just happened to stumble upon this under what's his name? Sprecker's first name. I forgot his name. Jeffrey Sprecker's Wikipedia page. I was like, are you kidding me? Look at this. On March 19th, 2020, the public release of federal financial disclosure documents revealed that Sprecher and his wife, interim U.S. Senator Kelly Loeffler, sold millions of dollars of stock the couple owned in companies vulnerable to the COVID-19 pandemic. And listen to this, Rob. The sales began the same day Loeffler and other senators received a private briefing from federal officials about the looming crisis.
Uh-huh.
And this is our new small business administrator, right? My goodness, that's unreal.
These people are just so...
Look, March 2020, the consumer advocacy group Common Cause filed complaints against Sprecher and Loeffler with the SEC.
Shocker. Go down to personal life. I want to see where these people come from.
From where?
They usually come from powerful families and that kind of. What's it say in the personal life?
Yeah, so he had a personal life. So his sisters, I don't know what his it's an insurance broker, right? Medical technologist. So definitely some, middle class family is where they come from, but they're filmmakers. His sisters are filmmakers.
Okay, nothing big there.
No.
All right.
Yep. Went to public school.
It's all very crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what's the neck deal? What's the take on the neck?
My goodness. I mean, from what I can see in pictures, it seems like she's got a long neck. It doesn't seem that long in the pictures, which is odd. You know what I mean? It's
You see, 'cause somebody was saying they're like, put that video back up, and some people have said that they saw something odd around her neck. Will you put that into AI, Isaiah? Can you put it on AI on your side? Because
Yeah.
it said for me that it
That's a
was not
really big
AI
deal.
generated. That's her neck. That cannot
Yeah.
be a human being's neck. There's just no way. I
Yeah.
refuse to believe it.
Yeah, that's
Giraffes don't have necks that long. Pop that into AI and see if that's AI generated. It has to be, doesn't it?
let's see here.
Remember when Biden had the same thing going on with his neck? Did you ever see the one with
Yeah. Oh yeah, the mask you're saying?
the one that everybody said he had a mask because he rubs
Yeah.
the back of his neck and it looks like he's rubbing like
Got it,
rubbing.
he's got like a line right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like skin at all.
Yeah.
And then
That's
who was what's her what's her name? Kamala Harris? Do you ever see the one where she did her face kind of changes shapes? And that was live. I saw that live. I'm like, what in the world?
yeah.
And they threw it off as a technical glitch in the video. But her face kind of went all weird. I'm like, what in the heck is going on there? I thought somebody was playing a practical joke, and then it was all over the internet at the time. People remember that? Do you remember that at all? Kamala Harris?
No. Not with Kamala.
Kamala Harris.
I thought I had heard something about that,
I'm gonna
but
look
I
it up
can't
while
remember it
you're
off the top of
doing
my
that.
head.
It was almost like her face. It was doing like it was bizarre. It was really bizarre. Kamala Harris. Let me see. Kamala Harris. Did you find anything?
Well, I gotta take a screenshot of the video first, and that's what I'm working on, is taking a screenshot of the video so then I can have a picture to upload to AI.
I got to find out if that's real or not. I want to think this is AI. It has to be AI.
Oh, I don't think so, but
See, Nat Van remembers the Kamala one.
just from looking at pictures of her, I don't think it's AI because she's got a long neck in her pictures.
That is a really long neck, though. That's not natural.
Let's see. Yeah, I saw one with her wearing a turtleneck. I'm trying to find this picture. And I was like, oh man, okay, that makes it yeah, this picture
What's it
for
say?
me, it's working.
Thinking about it?
Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Dot. No, she is not AI generated. This is a real person.
Okay, then there's something going on. I mean,
Yeah,
we are going through a very strange world.
This
There is no possible way that is a human being's neck. Look at that. There's no way, Isaiah.
this is the picture. I was like, oh my gosh, look how high her collar is.
That's true. So it's hard to tell. She does have a long neck. Maybe
Yeah, but you look at that. You can see how long it is because of how high her collar is right there. It's like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
I can't find. There was a one with her wearing a turtleneck too, and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes your neck look very long.
I don't know what to make of it. It's very odd.
Yeah.
She
looks like an alien, though. That's what I thought when I'm looking.
Totally. Yeah. Very.
That's how I feel like she's walking. Like, whoa. Or do you have
Very
like some
awkward.
type of giantism disease or something that's hurting your body? You know what I'm saying? Though, like when they don't necessarily, like Andre the Giant didn't walk like a normal person. You know what I mean?
Elephantitis?
Exactly, something like that of the neck.
Elephantitis? All right, you've got to. I got to introduce another topic, and I'm going to talk about it just a little bit today. I think this guy's name is David Steele. You remember that name?
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy, I've been thinking about this for a long time.
Steele?
Yeah, Steele.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it David Steele?
Sounds very familiar.
Very popular in alternative media conversations, kind of a conspiracy type guy. But apparently he was in the intelligence agencies, and he was doing all these videos. Then he kind of died suddenly. If anybody in the chat knows who I'm talking about, David Steele, you can put this up. But he talks about Kushner. Now, he's been dead for a while. Let me look it up. David Steele. Darn it. Sorry, everybody. We only have so much time in the morning to get prepared. David Steele. Yeah, here he is. David
This is how we bring the authentic information, though.
He is CIA, I believe. I think it's David Steele.
The Central Israeli
Robert
Agency?
David Steele.
The Central Israeli Agency you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Robert David Steele. So this is what it says about him. He died on August 29th, 2021, was an American case officer for the Central Intelligence Agency. Okay. So this is what it says about him on Wikipedia. He claims that he was in the CIA, talks about it all the time, and he came out with just some shocking stuff about how the world actually works. And people, when it gets so fantastical, people don't believe it. And I used to be the exact same way, so I kind of dismissed the things that he was saying. And now I'm starting to go, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm looking at this through the wrong lens. Okay. Let's do clip number 4. He talks about Jared Kushner. Now, Jared Kushner is married to Ivanka Trump. Jared Kushner, to me, again, Isaiah, and I don't want to offend my gay friends, but he looks like a gay man to me. He's always looked like a gay man to me. It's just a lit.
He looks like a lizard.
Some gay guys are just almost too perfect. Their hair is perfect. Everything's perfect. Their clothes are perfect. There's no wrinkles, everything. It's just kind of I don't know, just an indicator sometimes. And I don't see any emotion in this guy. I never see anything, but he feels like he's robotic to me. And David Steele, I had not seen this before. Robert David Steele, Mitch Mandel says, okay. So listen to what he says, Robert David Steele, about the Trump family and Jared Kushner. I thought this was very odd. Clip number 4.
Instrument of the deep state, and he is sexually and financially compromised, according to MI6 and some CIA sources, not official. He is owned by Zionist sugar daddies. First you buy a newspaper, then you marry the daughter, then you buy a building, then you get the dad, then you take his power. This is actually on Bloomberg as how Jared Kushner is going to execute patricide. What people don't understand is that Ivanka Trump was profiled by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, both of them Mossad agents. Ghislaine Maxwell is the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who is the most famous Zionist spy in the United States of America. So my bottom line on Jared Kushner is that he is known to be an agent of a foreign power. He is known to be an Israeli firster. He is known to have executed some very bad business deals, and he is known to have been bailed out on his 666 Mark of the Beast building by Qatar. Okay? So he's compromised in every possible way.
Now, can you start that over from the very beginning?
Sure.
Because that blew my mind, because I've talked about this thing on the peripheral, right? So I've talked about Jared Kushner all the way back on my original podcast. I said, let's look into this guy and let's find out who he is. Jared Kushner had an investment in a real estate or development business called Cadre, C-A-D-R-E. And that was funded to the tune of $25 million from George Soros. So when I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, Donald Trump's key advisor in the White House is Jared Kushner. And he's aligned with and has taken money from George Soros, who bought the conservative stations here in Missouri, and then he just sold it recently. So George Soros, I'm like, wait a minute, this is kind of strange, right? The closest confidant, the son-in-law of the president of the United States, was taking loans to the tune of $25 million from George Soros. That's a little bit strange, no? So then I started looking into him more. And then you find out that he had the closest office to Donald Trump in his first presidency, so he was right on top. Then you find out that his daughter, who married him, converted to Judaism. And now you find out that he, along with Steve Witkoff, are organizing what is happening in Gaza. Then you find out that Jared Kushner was a childhood guest in the home of Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel. And
who we just hung out with this weekend.
You put that all into the soup and you go, what's going on there, you think? All right, one more time. Start that from the very beginning, because I think we missed the very beginning about what it says about him from the very start.
He is an instrument of the deep state, and he is sexually and financially compromised, according to MI6 and some CIA sources, not official. He is owned by Zionist sugar daddies. First you buy a newspaper, then you marry the daughter, then you buy a building, then you get the dad, then you take his power. This is actually on Bloomberg as how Jared Kushner is going to execute patricide. What people don't understand is that Ivanka Trump was profiled by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, both of them Mossad agents. Ghislaine Maxwell is the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who is the most famous Zionist spy in the United States of America. So my bottom line on Jared Kushner is that he is known to be an agent of a foreign power. He is known to be an Israeli firster. He is known to have executed some very bad business deals, and he is known to have been bailed out on his 666 Mark of the Beast building by Qatar. Okay? So he's compromised in every possible way.
So look, one of our listeners says Jared and Ivanka was on Rothschild's yacht when they discovered an island they wanted to buy. She was in a recent interview where she said that.
Yep.
Why do Donald Trump supporters think there's anything going on there? Are they worried about that at all? I'm always curious how Donald Trump supporters justify all of this information that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I wonder how they justify it, or, because again, like I said, it could be, much bigger than I understand. I fully admit that. But man, that's a lot to take in. Why would Jared Kushner, who's never been elected, why is he negotiating what is going on in Israel when clearly he's negotiating on behalf of Bibi Netanyahu, because Bibi Netanyahu and him, I think he lived in the house. Can you look that up, Isaiah? That's been widely rumored. I think I verified that once before. But I think he even says it. I think either Bibi Netanyahu or Jared Kushner says it, that Jared Kushner spent time in Bibi Netanyahu's home when Bibi Netanyahu had a home in the United States. Well, how do you justify that? How does this man have this kind of power? Same with Steve Witkoff. These guys are negotiating the land in Gaza with the Iranian leadership in the middle of a war that could go nuclear. And who are they? We don't even know who they are or what their motives are, what they're all about. You find anything where he stayed with Bibi Netanyahu?
Pulling it up now. Yeah, so Bibi would stay at the Kushner family home when he would visit America. It says that Jared Kushner grew up knowing Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as a close family friend. When Netanyahu visited the United States over the decades, he stayed at the Kushner family home in Livingston, New Jersey, famously sleeping in Jared's bedroom.
Nice.
While the teenager supposedly gave up his bed and slept in the basement. Interesting.
Is it not?
Mm-hmm. And it says that Bibi and Charles Kushner, Jared Kushner's father, had a friendship rooted in major donations to Israeli and Jewish causes.
Hang on here.
And this is a New Yorker article that I had found talking about Jared Kushner. And here it says that the Charles Kushner in the late 1990s, Charlie Kushner, started pushing limits. He began drinking more, and when he did, he could become verbally abusive, including at the family gatherings. He began making political donations in the names of his family members and business partners without their knowledge, in violation of campaign finance law. He used corporate funds for personal expenses, landscaping, holiday alcohol, New Jersey net tickets, paying a consulting firm. Listen to this. Paying a consulting firm to assess the comeback prospects of Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, it's even more bizarre with that whole story of how all these things mixed together, which they're right out in the open for most people to see. Yeah. And they don't quite, either believe them, understand them, care about them, or they're on the same page. Like, as close as we can get to Bibi Netanyahu, the better, because he's a great man and he's trying to protect Israel and we're the greatest ally of Israel and they're our greatest. I understand if you're on that side, but if you're not, if you're somebody that goes, wait a minute, I didn't hire Jared Kushner to do anything. I don't trust Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner said it will be him or the next generation that will live forever. Jared Kushner said they have the technology now that it will be his generation or the generation after Jared Kushner that will have the ability to live forever. That's what they're all talking about doing with these technocrats, is living forever. Mm-hmm. And if a small handful of people can live forever and they're trying to depopulate the earth, which, everybody thinks is crazy, but is it possible that that's what's going on? They talked about it.
Isn't that the UN Agenda 2030 or something, right?
But nobody believes it. They all think it's pie in the sky craziness. But after I watched COVID, I'm willing to believe anything. I don't necessarily, I shouldn't say I don't care. I don't worry about it. I don't lose sleep over it. I just am, I'm just curious why the American people are completely docile at this moment in time. I think if this were going on and people had a real understanding of what was happening, if this was 50, 80, 100, 150 years ago, there'd be, torches and what are they called?
Pitchforks.
Pitchforks.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
in today's society, it's nobody
That's
seems.
what we did here in Missouri. We drove out the Mormons that way. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So Joseph Smith, father of the Mormon Church,
Yep.
it started here in Missouri,
Right.
and then they
St.
drove him
Joseph,
out.
right? Was it St. Joseph's, Missouri, where that all
Yep.
began? Yeah.
Yep. Drove him out with pitchforks and in flames. They drove him out because the like polygamy and things like that they didn't agree with. They drove him out to Illinois, and then Illinois drove him out and they moved to the west into Utah. And so,
I learn something every day. I did not know
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, something. But it's something we've done before. It's just that we're not used to it in these modern times, which is so interesting to me because I feel like it wasn't that long ago. Just looking back to the Vietnam War, where we had mass protests still in the streets against something.
Yeah, the colleges don't do anything either. You would
I
think the
know.
colleges now they got all worked up over Black Lives
I
Matter.
guess the BLM, the BLM, that was, I guess, maybe close to it, right? But still, that I feel like Vietnam had both sides that were against it. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Young people did not want to go off and fight those wars.
Yeah.
That's how the draft ended.
Mhm.
And now they're saying they want to bring that back. Let's do a little
It's true.
advertising very quickly.
There's
and then
Rick.
actually before that, can you go to clip number 7?
Sure.
Let's do Jared Kushner. This is what Jared Kushner is doing right now. And just watch the mannerisms and the facial expressions and just give me a sense of what your take is on Jared Kushner. I find him very strange.
A very, very good meeting. We were there for almost 4 hours with him and his team going through all the different details. I think there were some valid concerns that they raised that we were able to address. And we were able to go through some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that's been out about it as well. I mean, certain things like we're very committed to the fact that we have a plan to rebuild Gaza, but we will not allow Gaza to be rebuilt until the demilitarization occurs. Nobody wants to put more money into a place that's gone on for so long until if it's just going to be taken over by terrorists or blown up again. We're also not going to restrict Israel's right to defend itself if there are any imminent threats, and so we had to clarify what that means. We could be seeing progress, as much as in as little as 30 days, hopefully on starting to take some of the weapons out, and hopefully filling in some of the tunnels as well in the next 60 to 90 days as well. So progress could come quite soon, but we do need cooperation from both sides, and we're going to hopefully get through it. But we've made a lot of progress to get here. For Israel, we think this is a win-win situation because if Hamas actually gives over the weapons and the tunnels, willingly over the next 60 to 90 days, that obviously would be the elimination of a huge security threat for Israel, almost an unthinkable achievement. And if they don't follow through now on their commitment, everyone will see that they're not genuine about peace, and then Israel will have a lot more support from the U.S. and others to go and finish the job in the appropriate way.
His eyebrows didn't move once.
What does finish the job in the appropriate way mean?
Yeah. Is he referring to rebuilding Gaza, or is he referring to destroying Gaza?
Destroying Gaza. And remember Trump way back in the day, we play those clips all the time. He said he was going to build condos in there, and they said, well, who gives you the authority? He said, I'm the authority.
Yep.
America's the authority. I don't know. I guess if you're not living there and it's not you and your family, then it's not that big of a deal.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that's the power of the media, right? Is that COVID used the media to sell that to us, right? And with October 7th, they used the media to show the terrorists killing people, so that we would be more sympathetic for Israel.
We had 2 people on here, Isaiah.
Yeah.
We had 2 people on our show. One was a doctor who went there. She said, I'm not Muslim. I just went there because I'm a doctor and I was concerned about what was going on over there. I worked in the hospitals. Then we had a Green Beret who worked as a contractor and went over there. And they both said that Israeli IDF soldiers would shoot at kids as they were crossing the street from the hilltops, shooting them in the head, killing them. Mm-hmm. Firsthand witnesses, American citizens in our military. Mm-hmm. And we support it, apparently. I guess that's what we support. That nobody in our country has empathy for people that are getting their heads blown off by IDF soldiers as they're walking across a war-torn area where their buildings are down, they have no water and no food. And they have videos of it. I mean, you can see the videos. The one guy gave me the videos. He said, Robbie, you can play the videos on the show. And he says they drop food down. He said, you're going to see the people in the territories rush to the food because they're starving. And then you'll hear the gunshots. Mm-hmm. And he said, that's coming from the hilltops where the IDF soldiers are at. He goes, I watched it with my own eyes. Why his name was Robert Aguayo, I think his name was. Mm. But I'm telling you, our society doesn't care at all. I mean, they don't. I think they see, and this is what's funny about Christians to me. You'll call yourself a Christian. You'll say that you believe in Jesus Christ. And then when you see, this is politics here, when you see politics destroying the lives of other people, you'll make excuses for why it's the best thing for us. It's best that we give our money to Israel so that they can shoot children in the head.
Yeah, I saw this morning from
Unbelievable, really.
And this is from an Israeli newspaper, Haaretz, which is, I think that they're not necessarily super supportive of the current Israeli government.
They don't like Bibi very much.
Yeah, I don't think they like Bibi, and so I think that it's a more critical Israeli newspaper, and they said Gaza medics say 1,265 Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire in October.
Right. That's their paper.
Just since then.
That's their paper reporting it. That's the Israeli. It's not Rob Carter reporting it.
No, that's the Israeli newspaper.
And it's just, it's depressing because, for somebody like me, and I don't know how many people identify the way I do, I don't want my government taking my money to do that to other people. I just don't want it anymore. I just don't want it. I'm tired of it. I'm exhausted by it. And if that means I don't get to eat as good of food, if it means I don't get to travel as much, it means that my house isn't as nice, it means we go through a little discomfort. I don't want to be this person that is giving my tax money to a government that is killing people indiscriminately and saying it's okay. I just don't want to be a part of it anymore.
Yep. It says also,
and I think my God is telling me not to be a part of that anymore. That's the vibe and the feel that I get when I start talking to Jesus and I ask for direction. Jesus is telling me that I should not be promoting war all over the world and telling people how great it is. That's what my God is telling me. If your God's telling you something different, then we're talking to a different God. That's what mine's telling me. And that's why I continue to say, I do not want to be a part of continual war that America starts because they've got some master grand plan going on. I just don't, I can't get it. I don't want to be involved in it. I just don't.
And it's not just Gaza. They also said that the IDF is bracing because they're going to have some pushback against a strike that they did overnight in Lebanon. Killed 11 people, and several of those 11 people are actually civilians that they killed.
Yeah. America needs to get its act together at some point. Yeah. We gotta wake up, wise up, the whole thing. All right, let's do Valvoline Express Care if you don't mind. Valvoline Express Care, my good friend Tony Clark. When it's time for an oil change, it's always Valvoline Express Care. If you need a coupon, it's Valvoline-expresscare.com. So the next time you get an oil change, you're like, Rob, I'd like to get a quick, efficient, easy, no hassle, no nonsense oil change. I'd like to do it at Valvoline. I'd like to do it with Tony Clark. Can I get some discounts? Yeah, you can get some discounts. What you do is you go to Valvoline-expresscare.com, get yourself a coupon, and when you go to get your next oil change, go to Tony's locations. Where are those locations, Isaiah? Do we remember where those locations are at?
Oh, yeah. All over the place.
Yeah, yesterday I said Washington. It was not Washington. It was. They have locations in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, Highland, Illinois, Troy, Illinois, Lime Ferry Road, Warrenton, Missouri, Mid Rivers Mall Drive, and St. Peter's Parkway. When it's time for an oil change, it's always Valvoline Express Care. Our good friend Tony Clark, 15 minutes from bay to on your way. No appointments, no sales pressure, all Valvoline branded products. Great people, great business. Valvoline Express Care. Again, if you need a coupon, Valvoline-expresscare.com. Get yourself a coupon and get yourself an oil change from our good friend Tony Clark. And then we got RackCustomCoatings.com. I cannot praise this business enough. He just did a garage for friends of ours, and they sent me glowing feedback about the work that he does. His name is Rich McQuay, fan of the show, likes what we're trying to get accomplished. Been around since 2001. I think the flooring looks absolutely amazing. So if you have retail space and you need new flooring done, if you have industrial space where you need new flooring done, maybe it's a basement, maybe it's a garage, who knows what it might be, but they can do designs with these floors. It's durable, it's quick, it's easy, it's efficient, and it looks spectacular, especially for the garages. The man caves and the garages, this is a no-brainer. You'll love it when you get it done. It'll be something you went, I never spend money on myself, honey. Let's spend some money on this garage floor. I just want to be able to take my friends out, watch a little football in the wintertime. I don't want to be bothering you inside. I'll bring all my crazy friends outside. We'll watch the football games. We'll watch Mizzou football, and we'll have the flooring put in by RackCustomCoatings.com. My friend, Rich McQuay, 636-398-5040. If you can see what he's, the pictures, you'll get an understanding of what he does, but it looks great. It's durable. It lasts. Anything you can throw at it, it will handle. RackCustomCoatings.com, 636-398-5040. And then my next guest, we're going to bring him on shortly. is Rick Bavitz. I thought about doing a show, right? So I've got Rick. Now, Max Calfo, I don't think is talking to him anymore. He's not responding to me. Max Calfo ran against Mike Koslow in St. Louis. He must be mad at me for some reason. He gets that way a little bit. But I was thinking about having a show called Geniuses, and we could have my friend Max Calfo, who I thought was, maybe we still are. I don't know. Maybe he's on vacation. I don't know. Because he was running for office against Koslow.
Yeah, it's, running a campaign's hard work, so
He might
be a little
be
tired.
relaxing. I'd like him to come on the show because he's brilliant. That I'd have two Maxes and Rick, and we'd have a segment called Geniuses, and we throw out a topic and let them beat it up for a little bit. I think it'd be entertaining to watch those guys go at it because very smart people, wide reference. They can talk about just as Max is a polymath. I didn't even know what that meant. You know what that means, Isaiah? That means you're.
I'm not that smart to know what that means.
It means you're an expert on multiple different subjects.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And he said, he goes, this is, a lot of contractors are polymaths because they solve problems, and you don't want a problem for the plumbing and a problem for this. You just go, okay, well, if you guys know all of this stuff, let me just ask you, and then you can solve a problem that's multidimensional.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I would say I'm a jack of all trades, master of none.
That's me. That's exactly me. I can talk to anything, but there's a limit. Carrington Financial, yourcaringadvisor.com. If you've not gotten a hold of Rick Bavitz, I suggest that you do. Brilliant when it comes to money, finance, history, currency, all of it. And you want to get his opinion, especially if you're nearing retirement. If you have money to protect, if you have money to grow, if you have money to save, and you need sound advice that will look at how much risk you're willing to take with your money, how long you plan to live. I plan to live to be 125 years old. Rick has not come up with a plan. I said, I got $75 in the bank and I'm going to live to 125. Make this work for me. And he has not got back with a detailed plan of how to make that work. But if anybody could do it, it would be Rick Bavitz. Yourcaringadvisor.com. Biblical principles with your money. Reach him at 314-671-0525. 314-671-0525. Yourcaringadvisor.com. My man, Rick Bavitz. Let's bring him in. Where's my man, Rick?
Do it.
There he is.
How are you?
What do you think of my segment, Geniuses? Can you pull your head up? Your chin's at the bottom of the screen.
Camera? Yeah. There we go.
I want to see you pretty.
I think my camera and your camera, hang on a second.
Your head's down at the very bottom of the screen.
Yeah, my wife was complaining about it the other day.
Susan Elizabeth Zimmer asked the name of the long neck gal. The long neck gal is Kelly Loeffler. Kelly Loeffler from Georgia, if you want to look her up.
Hang on a second here.
Look up her husband, Jeffrey Specker, too. That's what we were just looking up.
You were in there. I didn't see you in the queue.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time.
I don't know why I didn't see you. I would have brought you in. I was
there we go. Let's see where that is. All right.
Rick Bavitz is always watching.
Is it? I see myself. I see my whole face.
I see you, but you kind of see how my head is at the top of your head. Is there any way you can just pull your camera down just a little bit so you can be more center? You don't have to. There you go.
There we go.
Right there.
Now
we're talking. All right.
Now we're cooking with oil.
Now we're cooking. All right. What's on your agenda today? I like to say, you know what I like about you, Rick? I figured out why I like you coming on Tuesdays. I get to shut up for a minute. I do. I get to shut up for a minute and listen to you talk. So let's do that for a little bit.
Well,
everybody, Rick Bavitz.
I mean, you and I can both talk. So,
Can't we get into a conversation and 6 hours later, we're still going.
I know.
What's on your
we've got our
mind
wives like texting and calling, and I like third time around, she's like, where in the world are you?
Right.
I just have to go, Rob, and she'll go, oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Now I know.
But so let me take these off. Actually, I was listening to other stuff too while I was waiting.
Shame on you.
I'm cramming so much in just any given day. And you texted me early this morning. I was awake and I was looking at it, and I really had to, that guy, Jim Rickards, he's been around a long time.
What's your take on him? I know of him, but I don't have a positive or negative. I always think when they're selling that kind of thing, it makes me a little bit nervous.
Yeah, totally selling something. Yeah. He's selling a membership to his shtick or whatever. And there's no question that, he did publicly predict those things that he talks about. I mean, he did come out and say things just like, Lyndon LaRouche did the same thing, or let's say Alex Jones did too, right? He did say some stuff early on. I did, right? I moved out of California in January of 2020. So, if I sold my house, I bought a house in the middle 90s and then I sold it ahead of the 2008 crash after making about 4 times what I paid for it. So there's things that I think that it's really, I don't think that it's a prediction, so to speak. One of the things you see happening a lot of the time is, it's somebody who looks at the market, and I can pull up an example here, but it's so incredibly up there. And I don't know if you saw my reply, but I said something along the lines that what goes up must come down is a very common saying. And it's not a prediction. And if something is super high for a very long period of time or been going up and people are euphoric and can't get enough of what's going on, and they usually, that scenario is people coming in late to the party and they're happy to usher people into that elevator, right? It doesn't matter that it's overweight. And then as it's going up and up and up and people keep getting on at each floor and it's getting higher and higher. And it's just like, at some point it's going to snap. And so I could say, yes, that market is going to come down. But the question is when. And, there's a lot of external forces that are at work, namely derivatives and like leverage and borrowing money that makes it go up higher, right? So one of the things that I think I like to talk about with people is to explain kind of like most people look at the stock market and they say up and down. Oh, it's going up. Oh, it's going down. And I want people to reorient themselves in the way that they see that and really much more understand it as flow. So when the market is going up, which direction is the flow of money? Is it like, think of tide, right? Is the tide coming in or is it going out? And so that surge of growth is coming from inflow, right? And so when the market is, when you have an outflow, what happens? The market comes down. And so to think of it as in and out is a better way for people to understand the actual dynamic of what's happening in the market. The money is flowing in and the money is flowing out. And when the money is flowing in at such record paces, where is that money coming from? And some places are legitimate places of money, like people investing, people putting their money in there, like contributions from 401ks. And sometimes it's illegitimate. So you've talked a lot about MMTLP and there's GameStop and the different things where it's totally fake. The people who are bringing money and shorting, for example, they don't even have those shares, right? So it's a mechanism in which they can sort of boost or cheat the market in a momentary sense. And if it comes back in the wrong way, it can hurt a lot of people one way or the other. I mean, an investor who's doing something like that probably needs to get burned, right? An investor who's doing a naked type, fraudulent types of behavior should get burned at some point, should get caught, should get stopped from doing those things, because it hurts regular people who have retirement accounts or whatever. And so we have a tremendous amount of those types of things going on right now. And I've been looking at a lot of that. But in the meantime, even our monetary system is built on a fraudulent rail or platform in terms of just the ability to print $1 and not have that be worth like a one-to-one relationship. There's no collateral you typically for that dollar. And then that dollar is multiplied many, many times over on an offshore basis, like globally outside the United States. So those are things that make it difficult for people to understand. They don't realize that every dollar that gets printed here gets multiplied or leveraged out in the global banking system by potentially hundreds of times.
What do you think is going to happen in the with the markets? Because I'm looking at now the Dow's at 53,000. I real quick story. I always love telling this story because it blows my mind. I think the stock market was around 18,000 at the time. I was outside of a Walmart. I just came out of a Walmart. I was sitting in the car and putting my groceries away, turn the car on, get the air conditioner on or what have you. And who was the guy that was the financial guy? The Art Laffer. Art Laffer was on some talk show on St. Louis radio. And he was talking about where the stock market would go if Donald Trump was elected. This was before 2016 election.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, if Donald Trump gets elected, I could see the stock market going to 30,000. I remember calling my wife at the time and I said, I'm just listening to this Art Laffer. And he says, if Donald Trump is elected, he could see the stock market going to 30,000. So that seemed to me almost impossible, right? Because if it's at 18 and, remember the stock market went on, after the housing crisis went down to about 7,000 and I'm like going to 30,000 seemed almost impossible at the time. Not only did it go to 30,000. So that's 10, let's say it's 10 or 11 years ago. It went from all of human history or the stock market history, I guess I should say, it gets up to 18,000 points. And now 10 years later, it's at 53,000. How is this happening? Where is all of this money coming from? Where is all this investment coming from? Is this got a lot to do you have a sense of it? Is it BlackRock? Is it the investment into the tech industry? Where is all this money coming from to drive the stock market up to 53,000 when it doesn't feel like the economy is doing all of that well? It doesn't feel like that to the people that I'm talking to. So not that we're in, slavery system or dying or, madness, but it doesn't feel like it's cooking. When I was in the late 90s and I was in business, it felt like it was cooking. I mean, the stores were rolling. You could go in. I went into Dillard's over the weekend. I mean, I could have hit a golf ball through the men's department. There was nobody there. And that was on a Saturday. Saturday, 30 years ago, that place would have been, had 7-8 people in line at every register. What do you make of it? How do you think this economy is doing, number one? And number two, where do you see it going? Do you have a sense of where this economy is actually going to end up over the course of the next year or so?
I can't. First of all, if we could play my disclosure.
Yep, I was wondering when we were going to. Ready to go.
I would say let's. I want to actually give you a new one where it's got some. Maybe I'll add some music or something so that it's a little more of an intro or something.
But they don't take us down with the music.
Go ahead, play that because it is. Yeah. This is definitely going into territory where we don't want to.
Yep.
Want people to think that this is advice or whatever.
Okay,
there you go.
Following segment is brought to you by Carrington Financial, which is solely responsible for its content. Investment advice is offered through J.W. Cole Advisors. Carrington Financial and J.W. Cole Advisors are unaffiliated entities. The opinions expressed by Rick Babich should not be construed as specific investment, legal, or tax advice. All economic and performance information is historical and not indicative of future results. Investing may involve the risk of loss of principal. Any tax advice on this show is not intended to be used by any person for the purpose of avoiding U.S. federal or state tax penalties that may be imposed on such person. Each listener should seek advice from their own tax advisor or legal counsel on topics that arise from the show. Rick Babich is not providing legal or tax advice. Nothing should be construed as a solicitation of an offer to buy securities. Missouri State Insurance License Number 802-9768.
Thank you. I have when I was doing the radio show, there were a couple of intro musics that are pieces that I would put up, and one was the Pink Floyd song, right? Money, and the show was called Money Talks. And then I started talking a lot about economic history, and really I love that song. I forget, is it Shirley Bassey or somebody doing history repeating?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very good beady song or whatever. And so I started using that. And it's funny because I've been thinking about it a lot. Why does history repeat? And Marx said it doesn't just repeat, it rhymes, right? So there was a few things that you can look back, and the first time, I think Hegel said, the first time it repeats, it's tragedy. The second time it repeats, it's farce, right? I think it's on purpose. I think that we hide history so that it does repeat. I think that the central planners prefer to keep repeating some of the things. The boom and the bust of these markets is definitely the design. It is a design feature. It's not an accident, right? So the Keynesian system, and especially the derivatives markets that really were ushered back, like in under Greenspan, principally, and through the 50-year period after World War II ended, there was a consistent effort to bring the stock market back to where it was before the Great Depression, where they were able to do these very highly speculative ventures, mergers, acquisitions, things along those lines, and then have everybody bring their money in, and or just actually use depositors' money, because that's basically what they were doing in the 1920s. Is they were taking money right out of the bank that belonged to you and I, and using it as their investment dollars to do all these large mergers and acquisitions, and to grow these companies, to invest in these companies. And then when they made enough money, they basically, you wouldn't necessarily say they all got on the phone on a conference call together and said, okay, ready, sell, right? But that's collectively what would happen. They would sell, the market would completely crash, and all of that money would be gone. People would want their money back, and there wouldn't be anything left because the chips had been moved off the table. If you fast forward and go through that period where derivatives start to come into play, which basically derivatives are basically somebody owning something, and then they're selling pieces of that. So if you think of it in a ballooning sense, I'm going to pull up something here so that I could maybe, if you understand that there's an underlying asset, and then I'm selling a piece of that, and then people put their money in, and I'm just think of it like a mutual fund. You can explode the amount of money in that mutual fund, maybe more than what is really there, because the inflow into that particular mutual fund is higher than the actual stock itself potentially. And so that is a derivative in some sense, but also just the idea of borrowing money consistently in order to have these assets in the first place. So now you have multiple layers of leverage going on, right? So, and then when people see the market, and I'm going to fast forward to like right after Glass-Steagall was repealed in 1999, we had the .com sort of idea enter into, the mind sphere or whatever. The general public started to become aware of these companies, and they seemed exciting. The internet, cell phones. I was walking around with a brick next to my head. And I, it gave you this sense of importance. People used to have phones in their cars up right before that. So it was kind of an interesting thing. You started to be able to almost universalize or democratize access to communication. And so it was very attractive for people. You'd see people walking around having a conversation. They were walking by themselves, and it looked like they were talking to themselves. And you'd go, is that guy talking to himself? And I don't know if this resonates with anybody. I mean, I'm 62, so I was in my late 20s, I think, at that time, when the early 30s when that started to happen. And so it was very universally it was becoming adopted, and people who were retired at that point were earning a very high amount of money in CDs, like 8-9% CDs. And my mortgage was right around that amount. So 8-9%, I forget exactly. But when you have that kind of return on safe money, quote unquote safe money, why would you take any risk? So if you had $1 million sitting in the bank and you're earning $80,000 a year and you're comfortably in retirement, there'd be no reason for you to do anything different, except that all of a sudden this .com craze comes, and all your friends that are, let's say, maybe slightly younger or maybe the same age, but they're getting a little bit into it, are like, hey, you're an idiot for not take your money out of the bank and put it into these new things. And some of this stuff was utterly worthless. There was nothing behind the keyboard, right? There was no value happening. There was no income coming in from these things. It was future value that was creating, and it was hype. And the future value of this particular company is going to produce so much revenue and so much interest that you must get in at the ground floor. And so a person who was in that position unnaturally took their money out of the bank because they're conservative and they were just in retirement. That's why it's unnatural for that person. And they invested in some of these companies. And so that inflow of extra cash was really artificial in the sense, even though it's real money, but these people weren't really supposed to even be in the market, in the stock market, because they were retired, they were conservative. And so that was a layer of added to that bubble. You had the people who were investing initially who were taking risk, and they knew they were taking risk, and they knew potentially there was no income there. And they were banking on the fact that there would be future income. But that was the risk they knew they were taking. The person who was retired and was looking at the value was not aware of any of that risk. And so you had that extra layer on top of everything else. And that's what created that extra rise to the bubble. And guess what happened? The market popped, or the bubble popped. And those people lost half their money over the next 3 years, 2000, 2001, and 2002. And then interest rates dropped. So now instead of getting 9% on a CD, they were only going to be able to maybe get 4 or 5. And so their $1 million was now 500,000. And then instead of 9, they're getting 5. So now they're looking at $25,000 a year instead of $90,000 or $80,000 a year. They're forced to stay in the market in order to grow their money back, right? And so if you think of it in that sense, now it's still that artificial layer, that unnatural investor is stuck. And so and it's all these derivative markets then usher in the mortgage-backed securities at this same time, and that starts to create this housing boom. And so again, you're drawing people in unnaturally. I have a friend, we haven't talked in a long time, but a few years, but I've had a friend that in the middle 2000s, we were in financial services together, and he left that business to go into real estate. And he started investing. I think he was investing in these very large developments where there were like 500 homes. And he put so much money into that. And when it all started to come crashing down, he couldn't get to it. It was just so quick. He described it to me as everything was behind glass, and I could see it, but I couldn't get to it. And he was left with a multi-million-dollar tax liability. Like the IRS filed a lien against against him. And so he could actually never go back into financial services after that happened, because he had this gigantic $10 or $15 million lien that potentially he'll never be able to pay back, because when you
who do you own the lien to?
Well, because all the mortgages that he took out, so he borrowed all the money to go into those big real estate ventures.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they all went bust, he couldn't pay back the mortgage. And so when they foreclose on you or whatever, that's considered income, that you received that money, even though it's negative, right? You don't have the money to pay back, but you were gifted. Gift is not really the right word, but you understand the mechanism. It's like, yeah, you don't just get to walk away from that without any consequence of owning $15 million in debt, and then the mortgage companies have to forgive that. That actually becomes a tax liability. And so, and that's going to stay with him probably till the day he dies. I remember when he was trying to get back into financial services, and none of the financial institutions would touch him. Like, oh no, you can't work for us. Even a small tax lien is usually your persona non grata, in that respect. But when you start to look at all of that, again, the market comes down, and the debt aspect of the economics going on has been driving our economy for over 100 years. But it's just been various times it's been worse and worse. It's tremendously. I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I had some ideas about just from that text that you had sent, and then.
Well, I'm curious because I have multiple different people that I consider wise people. I don't pay attention to the economic system at all anymore. I just listen to you and watch it from the sidelines. But I have a lot of people telling me to be very careful with your money moving forward. I said, I have no money, so there's nothing to worry about. But for people that do have money, I just don't understand where the system is going. I'm just wondering if the stock market goes like this, is it going to go to 60,000? Is it going to go to 70,000? Does it ever come down? Because traditionally, as you said, it usually has a bust at some point. And it feels like we've been booming for so long that a bust has got to happen at some point. It just feels
it's historic. Again, it's a 7 to 10 year period. So, somebody like Jim Rickards, or when I look at it, did I sell my house a little early? Yeah, I did. Not too early though, because when you get to the late part, that happens pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just like showing up to a party, better to be a little early than to be a little late. Right.
Right.
And just anything along those lines. And if you want, I can pull some visual stuff up here for everybody.
Sure. Because the markets are incredible. Did you look into Amendment 7, by the way, Rick?
Remind me of what that was.
I don't even think you know what's going on with it yet. So look up Amendment 7 in Missouri. This is something where they are going to invest taxpayer dollars into some form of a fund, as I understand it, tied to the S&P. And they're selling it as a way to eventually get rid of taxes in the state of Missouri. And I'd be curious to see what you think of it. It's Amendment 7. You can look up the language. They'll be selling it here before too terribly long. They'll be selling Amendment 7 in the state of Missouri. And I don't know whether it's good or bad, but I would certainly love to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, you're talking about, you want me to look it up later and let you
know?
Yeah,
you have to do it now.
Just give me a rough sketch of what it is.
I don't even know if I can give you a rough sketch. All I heard about it is they're pushing it as a way to get rid of taxes in the state of Missouri. The idea is that you would take taxpayer money, it goes into some form of a fund, and it's tied to the S&P. That's really all I know about it. I haven't looked into it because it's just something that I don't know that I'd understand it to begin with. But I'm just watching kind of the conversation go back and forth in the state of Missouri, and it's the same thing I keep trying to tell. I don't know that they care. I don't know the Republican Party cares in the state of Missouri. But I keep trying to tell the people that will listen, you're just not trusted. That's the problem. Even if you have really good legislation, if it's complicated and there's even 0.1% chance that it's going to go in the wrong direction, people, you haven't earned their confidence enough to get the Republican Party to come out and vote for these tax schemes that you have going on. And you've got another one coming. They tried Amendment 5. Now they have Amendment 7. And I just need somebody who understands how the whole system works to explain to me whether there's some pitfalls there or whether it's good legislation.
Have you ever read the book Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
No, but I'm aware of it, oddly enough.
So, there's a series of books. So I think that I'm trying to remember the name. I think it's So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, I think is the fourth book. And there's a little section in there that I love this section of, because it describes us as a society so well. And if you don't mind, just bear with me. I'll read this little excerpt. So it comes from an ancient democracy, you see. You mean it comes from a world of lizards? No, said Ford, who by this time was a little more rational and coherent than he had been, having finally had the coffee forced down him. Nothing so simple as that. Anything like that so straightforward. On its world, the people are people. The leaders are lizards. The people hate the lizards, and the lizards rule the people. Odd, said Arthur. I thought you said it was a democracy. I did, said Ford. It is. So, said Arthur, hoping he wasn't sounding ridiculously obtuse, why don't the people get rid of the lizards? It honestly doesn't occur to them, said Ford. They've all got the vote, so they all pretty much assume that the government they voted in more or less approximates the government that they want. You mean they actually vote for the lizards? Oh, yes, said Ford with a shrug. Of course they do. But, said Arthur, going for the big one again, why? The big, question.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they didn't vote for the lizards, the wrong lizard might get in, said Ford. And so
true.
It's so fundamental. I fundamentally just feel like at some point, I feel strange, even the idea of getting involved in local politics, right? Make local politics or make politics local again, right? That's a saying that is important for us, I think, to understand. And when you have these bills or these amendments, when they just number them now because they don't to be able to figure it out. Oh, is it Amendment 5 that I'm supposed to vote against, or Amendment 6? Mm-hmm. Is it Amendment 7? Which is the difference between or the Blue Sky Initiative, if you remember back in the Bush administration, which was a way to deregulate the EPA, right? And they called it the Blue Sky Initiative. And they just do this stuff at such a increasingly rapid and I don't know. It just feels like an overwhelming level of stuff that they throw at everybody. And then, yeah, we're going to do this next, and then we're going to do this, and hopefully, out of the 10 things that they put in front of us, all of which are bad, that we'll vote for one or two of them just because we get too confused. Right.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I just wonder if it's going to be. I'm trying to figure out, and I think this might be right up your alley. That's why I asked you about Amendment 7, because I'd be curious to see. I don't think a lot of people that are writing these bills are economic geniuses. Okay, I think they're probably coming from attorneys and coming from political think tanks and that kind of thing. Probably model legislation in another state. And then the Republican Party comes in and they have their minions and they begin to sell it. And sometimes I believe they don't even really know what they're selling, but they got their talking points. It's for the Republican Party. This is going to be good for the people of Missouri. And they go out and sell it. And I don't think they know what they're selling. And that's why I said somebody that really has an economic background might be able to look at that and go, okay, this could work, but here are the things you have to look out for. This could happen. This could happen. Because when I was talking to Michael Compton from Act 4 Missouri, he said, the people that would be running this fund would be able to make commissions in the hundreds of millions of dollars based on because it's a big number. We're talking about if they're getting rid of the taxes in Missouri, you'd be getting rid of $50 billion. So who's going to run it? Right. So and these are the questions that, immediately came to his head. And I said, yeah, that's the kind of thing I'd be looking at is what's the infrastructure of it all? Because as I understand Missouri politics and politics around the country, as I'm watching it, it seems to be that it's networks of people. That's what we were talking about with Trump earlier. I said, if you look at Trump's network of people, you can say whether they're good or bad or whether you're on the same ideological bent, but they are connected. Bibi Netanyahu with Kushner, Kushner with Trump, Trump with Ivanka, Kellyanne Conway with the Cuomos, Cuomos with the Trump. And you start putting a tree together, and you're like, all these people are like friendly with each other. They're all connected through families through a long time ago. And it kind of looks like that way in state politics too. You get your network built from the government, and then all of a sudden you're diverting contracts in their favor. You're making legislation for these people. And all of a sudden you have a network of people that have enriched themselves off the taxpayers' back, and you have an infrastructure that can't lose. That's kind of what it feels like to me. I keep saying to myself, why do we keep voting for things when nothing's getting better? Who are we voting for? But the alternative in Missouri and around the country, I guess, for conservatives is, well, we can't vote for the Democrats because they're crazy. So we'll vote for the Republicans that have just jammed it up there for 20 years and given us nothing except gasoline taxes. Our streets are a mess and a $50 billion budget and on and on and on. We'll vote for them because we know those criminals. We don't know the criminals on the other side. It's basically, like you said, which lizard would you prefer to vote for? It's just weird times to me. Maybe it's just I'm all learning it now, because when you read that book, it makes me think, all right, well, this information's been out there for, when was that book written? Do you know?
88, like late 80s, I think. Yeah.
So nearly 40 years ago. And you say, okay, well, if it was written 40 years ago, the same things were going on then that are going on now. Maybe it's just now that I'm understanding it better, it's more depressing, I guess is the word. We have to figure out a way to get our elections back so that we can get rid of, they used to say, throw the bums out. Remember the throw the bums out back in the day? It feels like you can't throw the bums out anymore. They just stick around forever.
You can't throw them out. They entrench themselves so deeply. I mean, they're just career politicians, and they're a politician. They're not a lawmaker. They're not a legislator. They're a politician, and they're not a citizen in that sense. They have to be a citizen, I guess, to run, at least ostensibly. But are they a citizen of amongst us citizens? Do they really care about you and I? Or do they look at these opportunities like potentially these different bills that come through and the attorneys that make them, or, do they know what they're even voting for? But on some level, they go, well, this could be an opportunity for me to advance my own wealth. I think that a lot of the times that's really where a lot of this stuff comes into play for some of these people. I think that that's, again, why the local, obviously there's a saying too that says there's no blue states, there's only blue cities.
Right.
And so if you actually were to just, if we all get involved with whether it's People's Lobby or Take America Back, or these things are popping up around, right? Not just the ones that I know about. There's other ones. There's women's groups in that I've heard about, in women voters in Texas that are starting to emerge on a local level. And you start to get to the point where, okay, if we could potentially re-infiltrate our own government from the bottom up, just in these local offices, that's where it's going to actually matter. Because then these things will never really end up getting to these state. And I think that right now, that's really the most significant thing that I see going on. I have this notion that we have somebody who I think is working towards our, just trying to find a card. I wrote myself some notes here, and yeah. So how much can the executive branch really do, right? From that point, right. If we look at that as the highest, most powerful office, except that for the most part, the uniparty there are very few people that really fall in line that will really support whatever is going to happen in the executive branch, right, or in that office, right, in the White House. It doesn't matter who's there, right? If you go along with the status quo and you just want to keep things flowing and allowing all this debt to accumulate, and which basically falls on the back of all of the, us. I mean, all of those offshore dollars that are being multiplied, just the Treasury prints $1 and maybe there's $100 worth of offshore dollars that make claims against that $1. That's still that's part of the system, and that actually falls on our backs, not the rest of the globe. And so in that sense, getting rid of that, and that's actually the system that I think is underway right now, where there is a side system that's being built, and I understand more. I think many people who are listening might understand more, just like me. If you had to rewire the electricity in a building that was being used every single day and could not go down, right, for 24 hours, like it was constantly having to operate, you'd have to build a new electrical grid for that inside that building until it was completed. And it'd have to be like a parallel system. And then you'd have a parallel breaker box or whatever. And then at a certain point, you maybe, in the middle of the night at midnight, you'd unplug the one breaker box and then plug in the new one. And it would only be down for, a few minutes or something, let's just say, as an example. And then you flip a switch and now you're on a new system, right? Or the plumbing, same thing. If the water has to continue to flow, you put in all the new pipes, and then you all you have to, at the very end, you've got all the work done, and all you got to do is reconnect the main from one pipe to the old pipe to the new pipe, right? The new main line out at the street, right? So if you think of it like that, I understand that kind of conceptually. I understand that a lot better. And I think that helps people maybe when I've been trying to describe this for other people with respect to what I think is being done. We have a system that's so broken and so completely against us. It is very, very principally designed to enrich just a small number of people. And that is not how our country was formed. That was not the intent. That is not the way that they started out. However, there was a battle, a consistent attempts every time our new way of doing things, economically speaking, started to take off, that we were cut short. Somehow they wanted to throw a blanket over everything to try to suffocate that which was going to remove that spigot of wealth, or that upflow that would go up into the Hoover, right, into the vacuum cleaner. So, which is generally, as long as they get 90% of everything, that's really, they don't have to get it all, and they leave whatever left for us. And there are ways for us out of the 10% that they've been leaving behind, we've been able to manage to build wealth for ourselves in various ways. Individual people have been able to do that. But that doesn't make it right that those systems were not. We work very hard for our money. Every single person, that is out there, 9-to-5 jobs, or raising kids, or starting businesses. Everybody works super hard, and at the end of the let's say your working career, how much does one have to show for that? And I'm in the business of trying to make that the best that people can possibly do for themselves, given the system that we're in. And I'm commonly talking to all kinds of different people from different walks of life who have $100,000 or $50,000 saved, all the way up to people who have millions of dollars saved. And, it doesn't really matter where you are in that spectrum. I think that the work ethic in large part has been similar. Some people have gotten a little more fortunate. Other people are better savers. Some people have gotten into debt and then they've had to get out of it. They've had setbacks. People's plans didn't necessarily go the way they wanted.
Rick, I'd be retired without a divorce. That's what's so crazy about our society, right? You get a divorce. I've been working since I was 12 years old. 12 years old. Been a high earner my entire life. Through high school, I made more money than my friends. When I was in my 20s, I made more than my friends. 30s, more than my friends. 40s, more than my friends. And then you get divorced. And now I'm looking at work until I'm 100 years old. I don't understand why society is structured in this manner, and people that are being run over by this society don't just simply ask for a system that works for more people. And when you say that, they act like you're crazy, like this is the greatest system in the world. You probably hear it more than anybody, right? People are coming to you, they're nearing retirement. They're looking at it going, okay, can you stretch this money out? My family lives long. I lived to 90. And you're looking at Social Security. You don't know if it's going to be solvent anymore. You don't know whether your money's going to last you until your mid 70s, your mid 80s. You don't have any idea what the dollar's going to be worth in the future. I mean, it's just so unpredictable. And as you said, I think you hit it right on the head. They cut you in half, and then you got to keep your money in the stock market to get it back. So now they've got your money invested again. It's almost like you can't get out of this. This I don't even know what I would call it. The system seems to entrap people. That was my buddy Max. I had about an 2-hour-long conversation with him yesterday. We went through all these different things. And Max is a biblical guy. He was born on Christmas Day, as a matter of fact. And he was just so irritable and saying, he goes, Rob, the system is just horrific. He goes, now that, he was talking about the past two administrations and things that have went on and the way they make decisions and who's involved and how the Pentagon runs and how the Department of Defense runs and how the intelligence agencies run, who's connected to who and who they're looking out for. And he said, this is basically a cannibalistic system where the people at the top look at everybody else, that they can just eat them and take their money and make them work longer. And the government is now involved with private industry so they can take, it's his parents, they want to take his home away from him. And I said, Max, I don't even know how I would react if my parents were losing their home in their 80s because they had an illness, and all of a sudden the state's coming to take their house because they can't pay their property taxes, which were determined by an AI algorithm to inflate the cost of their home so that they have to pay more taxes on it. It just seems like a system that the people would simply sit up one day and go, no, this is not going to work. This is a government of, by, and for the people. And the people would never envision a system where the government could come take a home that they own because they can't pay property taxes, that a machine spit out that they owed based on a value of their home that they've never cashed in to even get the money. The whole thing just seems so awkward and absurd and ridiculous that you would think that people would at some point just revolt against it, but they don't. They just continue to take it's like we're slaves in a system and we're too afraid of what might be versus trying to develop a system that works better. And I know you have to see it. That's why the question I was going to ask after that little rant was, what are you seeing from people that come to invest with you? Are you hearing stories of insecurity and of anxiety about financial situations? What do you hear more now than you have in the past? Or because the stock market is so good, are you seeing just as many people come to you and go, man, the stock market's went crazy. I turned 65 and the stock market's up 15,000 points in the last couple of years and I'm rolling in dough and I'm feeling really good. Do you get a mixture or do you get more of one or the other?
It's definitely a mixture. After this sort of bull run that we're seeing, people are less likely to think that there might be a problem with their money. They don't see, if you have an inefficient system and you add, let's just say an engine that's slightly out of balance, and you add RPMs, there's the chance that you're going to have a breakdown, right? Just at a smaller number of RPM. So if you start adding horsepower to a system, it's exacerbating the erosion that's taking place inside people's accounts. It's just harder for you to see it because the growth is so good. And a lot of advisors, I run into this probably the most of anything I see is expensive investment, like the cost of ownership is way more expensive than the person imagines. They don't even see any cost on their statements, so they don't think there's that much cost, if any. Maybe the advisor is charging them a fee, let's call it 1%, and they think that that's all that's going on. And there is so much more going on inside that person's account, but because the growth, the advisor actually applies their own rate of their own risk tolerance to the
Right.
portfolio.
Right.
And in some sense, it's helping to disguise the overweight cost of ownership, because that's really at the end of the day, the cost of ownership is, there's just a couple things that we can control, at least right now. We can't control inflation, at least where we sit right now. We can't control taxes, but we can control the fee structures, and we can control the market volatility. And those are the two things that cost us the most money. I mean, taxes costs us the most money, but we have taxes. So until we get rid of that system, that's just, we're along for the ride. Now, I hope that happens someday. Inflation is a choice. You've heard Warsh say it. He even said, we're going to choose the less brutal way, or I forget the exact, cruel. He used the word cruel. We're not going to pick the cruel way out of this. And I think that's interesting that we have, again, I think that on some level, there are good people out there. And I think that people can come to a situation that's broken, and they can say, is there a way to fix this? And maybe they have an underlying motive, an ulterior motive that is such that, you know, if I fix this, this is going to help people a lot, and it's going to free them up. And it's going to, the example I like to use is you're holding a balloon that's filled with helium, and it's got you're holding the string. And sometimes it slips out of your hand, and you see how fast, like you can't get it in time. Right. And so if you were able to release the drag on that, on what's going on in our system, imagine what would happen to the market, right? To the wealth and to the prosperity of individuals. And I think that that's what's truly, we've seen it in the past, where it gets away from these legacy high table, the people at the high table who've been under had us under their control for many hundreds of years. They lose their grip just for a little bit, and that happens, right? That flies away so quickly. I think that that's the natural way, right? So, are there people, and I'm going to use myself as an example, right? I'm a fiduciary, and I have to set aside my interests in favor of my client. And I have to do that entirely. Like, my interests can't pollute any recommendation that I might give somebody. I have to divorce myself of my interests entirely, including my interest in making a living. But can my interests align with a client? Like, can I be the caboose behind the engine, and maybe a bunch of cars behind that engine in between us, and I'm the very last, I'm the caboose? So they have kids, they have grandkids, et cetera, and they've got this idea of a family legacy, generational wealth is the way I think, is how can we live out our lives the way that we really want to, and still have something left over to leave behind for a legacy, right? That's I have to think generations ahead, at least a couple. And so, but if my interests are there way behind all the others, and I'm just operating on what's best for that engine, is it okay for me to make money, right? And so when we think of these people that are at the head of what's happening right now, and the president would be one, and his Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent would be another one, and Kevin Warsh was handpicked by Scott Bessent, and he gave him to the president. I think the president said something like, Well, I don't like him, but if he's your choice, because the president wanted somebody who was going to cut rates, right? And Kevin Warsh is not known for that.
I was going to ask you that. It's funny you say that because it was on my agenda to ask you privately, but I'll ask you publicly. I don't understand what happened there. Donald Trump was destroying Jerome Powell because he kept saying he needed to lower interest rates. Then we bring in Kevin Warsh, who I think was a Democrat, wasn't he? Is Kevin Warsh a Democrat? No, it was, maybe he wasn't.
I don't actually know for sure.
But then he comes in, and then all the talk about cutting interest rates has kind of just disappeared from the headlines. But when Jerome Powell was there, if you remember, he was embarrassing Jerome Powell. He was constantly calling him out. You've got to cut these interest rates. What are you doing? We could have such a boom if you'd cut interest rates. Then Kevin Warsh comes in, doesn't cut interest rates, and nobody even talks about it anymore.
Right. So, well, they're talking about it, but
you don't see it on Fox News. You don't see
it on a mainstream. And I'm going to say, just ignore that stuff, because that's those are the narrative matrix, creating arguments about nothing, like, this idea that the guys on the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln are getting stir crazy because they've been there too long. That's one of the top stories, right? And if that's all you got to talk about, then something is brewing that you don't want us to know about, at least from a mainstream level.
It's not. You know what it is?
This is fodder for idiots.
All right, just wanted to get that out there.
Fodder for idiots. So I'll say this: there is a very complex, but I'm going to simplify it. It is the sovereigntists against the globalists, and there is an economic restoration that is happening. And again, is there grift going on? Potentially, yes. Is there graft going on? Yes. Okay. Do you understand the difference between grift and graft?
I don't. What's graft mean?
Graft is the politician taking, payoffs and things.
Gotcha.
And then grift is I'm actually going to skim off of something that's going on.
How does this manifest itself? Because this is the thing that I really want to understand. I won't understand the.
Are you able to put my screen up?
I don't know.
Did
Isaiah, you still there?
Yep, you're good. You're up there now.
Isaiah, he must have. He's looking at your financial information. Isaiah's got big money to invest. He's trying to figure out whether you're the right guy or not.
Okay, yeah, he can. When I say the right thing, that means buy. Just kidding.
What do you got? What am I looking at?
So if you see this little diagram, I just put it together for today. Can you see that?
Yes. And we only got 13 minutes, just FYI, because I got a lunch date. Individual sovereignty, economic restoration.
Right. So there's
monetary policy from Treasury. Okay. So tell me what's going on. I just want to understand how do I see because I know you see something, and I trust that you see something.
Yeah, I absolutely see a lot of stuff here that's going on. And I'm reminded, I've been talking to a lot of clients just any given week. I'm talking to 50 people, maybe 60 people.
What are the indicators, though? What, like the common person that is paranoid, concerned, lost money, just living check to check, starting to panic, don't see a lot of,
They're not going to see stuff. I mean, they're not going to, they don't necessarily know how far down to drill to get to the right information. That's hard for the average person. Plus they're busy.
Well, what would be an indicator that life is going to turn around for them? Like they could see something and go, okay, that's tangible to me. My interest rates went down. My house is either higher or lower. I have more cash in my pocket. A grocery bill went down. I can afford my energy right now. I can put my kids in college. I don't have $200,000 worth of education bills that I have to pay in this $50,000 job that I might get. That's the way people feel right now. They feel very trapped in the system. They don't feel like there's an opportunity. How will that?
I mean, in that sense, I mean, if they're listening to your show or this show, and they're listening to me on this show, you can always call me, and I can walk you through stuff in a larger way. And 13 minutes is not a lot of time, but in the context of, I mean, on some level, I have to tell clients, look, you're going to have to trust. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I have Bible readings that I do for myself. Then then I sit with my family and we try to develop our faith. And one of the biggest things about faith is trust, right? I have to trust that the Father is going to care for his child, which I'm one of them. And I have to think of the Father not necessarily like my own father, who was a little harsh and who did stuff that I didn't like, right? But the Father that my own father, when he got me in his hands when my mom gave birth to me, and he bursted into tears, and he had an outpouring of love in that moment. That's kind of the Father that I think of God is, right, for me.
Yep.
But he's like that all the time, right? He adores me, and he can't even contain himself about how much he loves me. And so what would that Father do for me? He would give me everything possible, but I have to trust that he's going to provide. So from that perspective, I mean, in this day and age, it's really tough to trust people. And we've been burned so many times, but right now, pay attention to the things that Trump actually does, not what he says publicly or what the television splices together or crops and then puts in front of you. I would go to the source if he says something and it's putting him in a bad light, and you're a supporter of him and you're watching an outlet that you believe supports the president, but they're putting the president in a bad light, or it feels like you don't want to support him for that particular thing that they're showing you, then go to the source of what they're talking about. And he puts so many things on the White House website that you could stay there. You could just go on the website and look at what is the most recent things. Just search and look. And so when I put this map together, it was in April. I even dated it April 20th. And then I got permission. I put it through my, because I have to some of the stuff I show people. This is rising regional partners in the Middle East. And look at Iran is right there. And you and I had conversations before I even made this diagram. And you were like, what do you mean we're doing this action in Iran to support Iran, to actually build them up and in order to create peace in the Middle East? This doesn't even make sense. But when you start to understand some of the things that are going on, he's restructuring the energy flow. Like right now, does the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is closed again, does anybody care?
I thought we just made it ours. Isaiah told me this morning that the Straits of Hormuz is now the Straits of America, and we own it.
That's what Trump said.
Yeah. So
but it was simultaneously when the
but my
Iranian government said that it was closed.
Right. But if a week from now, there was something on the news that said that it's closed again, right? Just because it's ours, does that mean it's what I think when he says it's ours, what he's meaning is it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter whether it's open or closed, because none of the traffic. I think that one of the biggest things that people were missing early on in all of this stuff, particularly go back to even last year, right, is all of the different actions that we were taking to control choke points, because we wanted to be able to direct the flow of energy so that we would be the source of those energies. So our oil production would be, we would all of a sudden start gaining customers. We were trying to redirect how energy was being, the flow of energy. And a lot of oil is sitting on the surface of the oceans, right? So that's one of the ways. If we can control all of the choke points, the Strait of Gibraltar is one as well that's nearby. That's when you think of all these different locations, the Strait of Malacca in Indonesia, the Panama Canal, there's different places all across the country or the globe that are important. But what's the end result if we control all of those? What is the outcome for us? Well, our ability to offer these countries oil instead of coming through Britain's network, right?
What do you think would happen in that case? Because this is kind of what we were talking about yesterday. I look at America sometimes when I hear Donald Trump say, this is my impression, Rick, so just recognize it as my perception. When I see him talk about this is going to be good for America, the first thing I think is good for American corporations, but how does that filter down to me? How does Rob Carter and my family benefit from this? Because if they control the oil, I don't think the people that are controlling the oil, the banking system, the food quality, the food supply are really working on behalf of American citizens as much as they are benefiting from the idea that they control those resources and selling them to the American people.
Okay, but the part of what I started talking about was this, like the two electrical systems parallel to each other. One's operating 24/7, and somebody's building, let's say, underground or in the basement. They're building the second system, and then at a certain point they unplug one and plug in the other one. That doesn't do that, right? That maybe still those people can attain still a lot of wealth, but there's so much grift and graft going on in the current system. If we can erase a lot of that, I mean, there's so much global theft,
right,
that has nothing to do with Americans,
right?
That's taking effect, and I think that the new system is going to we're going to get a larger share. That's all. Maybe Trump and his whole entire family is going to get supremely more wealthy than they already are. I don't know. Do I care if all of a sudden I have access to 10 or instead of 10% of what's happening in our country, the Americans are able to access 25%. Instead, that's where you let go of the helium balloon and it floats up like crazy because you won't even be able to catch it because it's so much more. And I don't know what the exact proportion is going to look like. I just know that in talking to a lot of people, we're all talking about the same thing in terms of what's suppressing us. We already know what's suppressing us. We're being told that it's something different than it actually is, but we all kind of collectively have it in our mind that there is something out there that is suppressing us. I know that it's funneling into one more concentrated direction. As it goes up, it gets narrower and narrower. And if you trade, it goes back several hundred years, right? And so the only way to really get this thing to move in the other direction where we can actually unplug one and plug in the other one is to start pinching off these different money flows. And so that's Venezuela and Colombia and even Cuba, right? It's the whole, I mean, if you think of the Western Hemisphere and the Don Rowe doctrine that's been coined, right, by the Don himself, right? He probably came up with that name because he's like that. But if you think of the basically taking the Western Hemisphere and blocking off, I mean, who's been principally adopting the different directions that he's going, who's coming on board? And you start looking at all the different countries that just look up the Board of Peace, who's signed on to that. Okay. Who's signed on and who's actually now working with the president on this regional partnership. And you're seeing countries like Turkey, and you may not realize it, but Iran, and then Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Emirates. I mean, there's more, right? There's people that would never even consider publicly announcing they were willing to talk about putting down their arms, right? And now you have quote unquote terrorist organizations that are saying, we're willing to talk, we're willing to come to the peace table, and we're going to put down our arms. When you have regional partners like Turkey and Saudi Arabia and Qatar, right? And then you think of the Syrians are involved, and then Iran, there's a large amount of people in Iran that are very intellectually on board with all of this. They're extremely intellectual, smart, They have a large population of 90 million people. So, I mean, it's a gigantic country. There's a small part of that that's doing all the fighting, right? So, and they're funded by who? Directly out of MI6. So,
What do you think will happen with this Strait? So I got to ask you that real fast, because when you said that, and you said it's almost like the United States and the Trump administration is working to benefit the Iranian people, although it feels like we're at war with them, right? So ultimately, we're working with them at some level. If they don't have control of the Strait, doesn't that hurt them from a geopolitical standpoint? If they don't have control over it, if they're not moving their oil through those straits into their trading partners?
Potentially, but there's a lot of stuff they have going on in Iran that they haven't been able to get together because of the IRGC has been stopping them. So I think that if you're an Iranian citizen who, let's say, has a master's degree or a PhD in science or technology or finance, or, there's Iran has some of the most educated people on the planet, and it's a 4,000-year-old civilization. So it's tremendously sophisticated. But they have like Stone Age going on as well, right? So right. People look at that and they go, we want to be freed just like everyone else. We want to be that helium balloon, and we want the IRGC to lose its grip of the string. And so I think that the pressure that's being created, the pressure campaigns, I mean, this is just one component. If you look at what I have here, the economic restoration, the financial system of the globe is cheating so many people. And I think that that's really fundamentally, it's probably 75% of what's happening is a capital war that is going on. And so that's why you see a lot of the movement happening geopolitically. And do you think that there's a danger that the dollar is going to become, this is some of the things that sometimes people talk to me about, where they go, I'm worried that the dollar is going to no longer be the reserve currency. And that's just seems to, from my perspective, that's almost an impossibility, right?
And they were talking about that with BRICS maybe 2 years ago.
There's no, BRICS is gone.
I know.
BRICS is completely gone. What is it actually? It's America, Russia, China. And then who's the most important country after that, do you think? It's Japan, probably. They have one of the most industrialized nations.
My daughter just went there. I was there. It's enormous, and it's well functioning, I got to say.
It's an incredible society. Who got elected, and Taichi, I think is her name, Takaichi. She got elected in Japan, and her first visit was to the White House. And then Russia just visited the island that Putin just visited the island that there's been this historic problem between Japan and Russia that goes all the way back to World War II. And just for no reason, like Putin decides to visit the island that's under contention, and it has to do with a treaty that has never really been extinguished since World War II and resolved. And so when you start to look at some of again, you have to watch what I was reminded of, and I just want to say this. There's a poem that I can't read. Usually I couldn't even get 2 lines into it before I start to get very emotional, but it's that poem called Footprints.
Yeah.
And where you look at the sand, and you can see 2 sets of footprints, and then there's only one. And the person's talking about feeling like they were alone during that time, and that God left them. And in fact, God's saying, no, I was carrying you.
Correct.
And so, and I don't want to say that in any way that Trump is like God or any of those things. I'm just saying that I look at footprints, and as I've been looking at footprints, I was reminded of that poem, right? And I'm looking at what the president is doing, and I mean, actually doing, right? The things that he does. I could care less what flies out of his mouth. Half the time he is doing kayfabe. Okay. He is saying something that is the exact opposite, so that he's maybe giving little hints of signal so that people who really know, or who are on board with what he's doing, they'll hear that signal, and they'll go, okay, that makes sense, right? Or he'll give a little clue. Like you guys were talking about something right as you were finishing the show. And when you said, like, what did he mean by that? I think it was when Jared was talking at the very end, and you guys said something about what did he mean by that, right?
Yeah.
Was it, this or that? And so there's stuff that the president has said about Israel.
This was about Gaza. He said he will
And
take
that was about Gaza.
in an appropriate manner. I'm like, what's appropriate manner mean?
Yeah. And so the appropriate manner, and it's ambiguous, right? It's purposefully ambiguous because he could be talking to the people that know what they're doing. And I'm not going to say I profess to know what he means by that statement, but it has two meanings, right? Or it could be potentially two. And so if you remain ambiguous until the very last moment, and then all of a sudden we find out and it's all for the good, you go, oh, what a relief, right? And if it was for bad, we go, oh, crud, that's not going to be good for us, right? So I think that they have to keep people guessing, because this is not something you can just go head on. You cannot just come out on TV and say, I'm going to change these three things. We're going to work on an economic restoration, and then we're going to make economic security or energy security and energy independence, which is going to require a complete restructuring of the geopolitical map. I mean, we're going to have to get people to come on board. I guarantee you, if you go and look at the Board of Peace and you look at who signed on and who didn't sign on, look at who didn't sign on. The EU, all of the European nations said, we're not doing that. That's a pretty good tell as far as is the Board of Peace making some people mad in the right places? I think so. Why didn't they sign on to that? Who doesn't want peace? The EU is sitting here talking about not peace, but what? War. They're like talking about, we need more money. We want to go back into Ukraine and try to. That's completely over. I mean,
what was going on there? Because we were giving hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine to fight this war that it certainly appears to me that the United States
it's pinched off. I mean, if you look at where is the money spigot dried up, and then trace where was that money going, you go, oh, okay, that must have been one. Ukraine. What do you think was going on there? All that money was going over there. They were buying or they were shipping arms, but USAID, for example, would send $30 billion to a particular place for an education program in Africa, let's say. And if you actually talk to that education program, they're like, yeah, our whole budget was $170,000. I don't know anything about 30 billion, right? Or 30 million, let's say. Let's change the scale slightly. So where did the other $29 million go? It went to the dark money profiteers and the people who are shipping all kinds of things and continuing the all the chaos and the war that's going on. There's 60 wars going on right now. There's not 6, there's 60, right? So if you start going around the planet, all that chaos, where does all that money come from? It's not coming directly out of the pockets, at least, because, I agree with this war, so take my tax dollars and do that. No, they're grifting that money out of the system, right? And so they're bribing and then blackmailing politicians in order to get those politicians to agree to look the other way, right? And to not let anything change. So you've got all this stuff going on in Michigan right now where they've got these extreme, so extreme on the left that the Democratic Party is actually tinkering with elections on their primaries, like within their own party. They're like faking, retabulating the votes in the middle of the night in their own elections.
They did that with Biden and Hillary. If you remember, Biden and Hillary back in the South Carolina primaries in 2000 and
So
16, they just stole it from Biden. They just took it from him.
You have
Said,
Democrats that are coming out
and
and they're saying, I support Mike Rogers.
they stole it from Bernie Sanders too, and just they don't even do anything about it once they know it's stolen. We live in a crazy world. I don't understand.
So it is fundamentally they again. I think that the things that we need to really understand and support are this new concept. We're going to digital. I mean, the president has the military. I think that he now has, and going back to your original thing that you were asking about, which was Powell and Kevin Warsh, and originally, and all of the stuff that was happening with Powell, right? Powell was doing actually a lot of interesting things where he was raising rates in order to quell the inflation. And so he was trying to ease the suffering of people. And that was definitely, he has talked about this publicly where he wanted to be part of the transition. And he wanted to be remembered in history as the chairman of the Fed who was a party to the transition. So that's kind of an interesting thing to say, because what transition is he talking about? And then you have Warsh come in, and what happens? Powell doesn't leave like every single other former chairman who just they retire every time for 113 years. Powell stays and goes on as a voting governor. And I thought initially, okay, is he going to work against Warsh? And then I realized I think he's actually an ally, and he's working the room to try to help facilitate what Warsh's agenda is. And Warsh has come out publicly and repudiated Keynes, which is like, that's a heretical, that can get you killed, right? That can get you excommunicated.
They don't like that.
Huh?
They don't like that.
They like Keynes, because Keynes wants the population to go down to nothing, to 500 million people. Keynes wants a higher race. He doesn't care about people that are in need. Keynes didn't want any of that. He was a supporter of fascism.
And how many people do you think the global enemies of sovereignty, let's say, and nation states? What kind of enemy are we talking here? Are we talking about half the world's population? Are we talking about just big money that has a big network? How do you? It's hard for you to even identify who you're up against. In from what I can understand, because I look at even the U.S. when we're sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. At least that's what they're telling us. In my mind, I'm thinking, well, aren't I going to have to pay the interest? And isn't that going to cause inflation that we're shipping all of this money over to Ukraine? And both parties were doing it the whole time. And I kept saying to myself, why do I give a crap about Ukraine? What is going on around here? Nobody can even pay their bills, and we're sending $500 billion over to Ukraine.
Yeah, well, that's why I say, look at what the president has, like what he's done, exactly done, rather than what he said. I mean, some of the stuff that he said that we like I didn't want to be in Ukraine. I knew we were headed that way, just based on the bellicose, Mark Rutte, right? The head of NATO, and you look at all the types of things he's talking from the Carnegie Endowment for Peace, and he's talking about bombing things, and
right.
I mean, the absurdity,
like
of
Orwell,
the hypocrisy. It's just off the charts. And so, Ukraine was on my list. There's no need for NATO. There hasn't been a need for NATO since Eisenhower, right? And Eisenhower said, if it's here longer than 10 years, then it's failed. So,
and 70 years later.
And 70 years later, it's still around. And what has it done? It's basically sucked money right out of our Congress for various reasons. We did actions in places like Yugoslavia. NATO was bombing itself.
Uh-huh.
And then after it was bombing itself, it's bombing places like Libya for fake reasons. For let's say they were hiding behind humanitarian aid, which is just a code word for regime change, right? And so Trump said that, if you remember that picture. It was very, very prominent in the news back in like 2018, where Trump's sitting at a table and Angela Merkel was, both hands on the table, and she's looking down at Trump. They were arguing about NATO.
I do remember that.
And he was saying, like, you're going to pay your fair share. And he meant it. And guess what? If you're not going to pay your fair share, what's going to happen? Well, the other thing that's also happening is, notice, we've moved troops away from NATO, out of NATO countries. And then quite literally, anything that's going on in the Middle East, when you see those rockets flying, where are they going? They're bombing bases, American bases, that we don't want to leave those resources behind in case Kamala Harris becomes president someday.
So you think those bases are being eliminated just to get us out of the area?
Yeah, Trump has said over and over again, I do not want to be in the Middle East. There's no reason for it.
Oh, I like that.
The Middle East literally is I mean, when you really break it down and you look at the fact that Obama won the Nobel Prize for Peace about 9 months into his first term, and he hadn't done a single thing. All he had done was talk about the yes, we can. And I used to say, yes, we coulda, because he never did anything.
Wait a minute. Barack Obama's on the line. Hang on one second.
If you want propaganda to be effective, you don't have to convince people that what you are saying is true. You just have to flood the zone with so much poop. They use a different word, but you have to flood the zone with so much untruth constantly that at some point people don't believe anything.
Very wise man, Barack Obama.
But another thing that Obama said was, and this related to his drone strikes, turns out I'm really good at killing people.
Yeah.
Another thing that he said very publicly was his daughters were being, one of his daughters or both of his daughters were being, if they're really his daughters, but they were being, let's say, swooned by the that boy band. I forget who that was. The Jonas Brothers. And he said, like during one of those press, the annual press dinner. He says, I have 2 words for you: predator, drone. You won't even see it coming. And so he was joking.
How do we solve that problem? That's another thing that people are starting to talk about, is unmanned drones as part of military weapons.
Well, I don't want to get stuck on. I got what I'm pointing out here is that you had this guy who won the Nobel Peace Prize, and he was one of the most acerbic, just warmongering,
sadistic
presidents. He had Hillary Clinton, who proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that a woman can be just as much of a warmonger as any man. Right? That's what her sense of feminism was all about, was I'm going to come in here and I'm going to prove that I can kill just as many people as a man.
Yeah.
And so you had that team, right? And Obama was probably not anywhere near as bad as Hillary, but then once she was in his cabinet for 4 years, he was completely converted to that Manchurian candidate, right? So when you start to look at this,
kill it,
and you say, what has Trump done? And you go, wow. We may not see this yet in terms of its overall outcomes, but when you start to look at who's jumping on board with these things, so many nations that are on board with the Board of Peace. Then you have these regional partnerships that are being developed. Now you have a Turkey and Saudi Arabia and Pakistan that are getting together. And Trump is basically hands off, right? Because what he wants to see is regional balances of power that have nothing to do with us. Like, we aren't enforcing that. And so these are cropping out spontaneously now. And why is that? Because it's creating balance, right? It's creating these. Now there's the nuclear thing is being balanced out by some of these regional partnerships that are developing. And then going back to America, Russia, China, and the things that we've been doing. And have you seen Russia or China vote no in the UN against us around any one of these things?
No, I don't pay attention to the UN much anymore.
Right, but it's very interesting that they've abstained. When we do something, normally they would complain and vote no, or that there'd be a big deal. They would make a point of saying that they're against us.
And the left would say we're lining up with authoritarians.
And yeah, it's true that there is some authoritarian aspects to both of those countries, but they get a lot done. And then if a lot of people I think that follow you might not follow Tucker anymore. Which,
I follow Tucker still.
No, I'm saying that some people that follow what we're talking about,
I got you,
have gotten mad at Tucker, right? He went to Russia and he bought groceries. Did you see that?
I did, of course.
And so it's just interesting.
He basically made it sound like it was a better society. He said their downtowns are clean, they're peaceful, they're safe, they're majestic. And he goes, and then you go to our cities and you got the zombie apocalypse going on.
Right. And so just to understand that there are some things there's give and take with certain things. And I don't necessarily, they have nice warm water beaches on the, the Balkan and the Black Sea and, off Crimea and stuff. I actually looked to see if you could buy property in Crimea, and they were like, no, you can't buy property in Crimea. They protect their land, right, from foreign ownership. So there's certain things that you just have to recognize that these countries, even though they're different than us, we can still be aligned in going against. I mean, these countries, China, probably worse than any other country, was completely dominated by the British Commonwealth and the maritime imperial power for a couple centuries, right? So or almost, right? And they were sent down the drug addiction, drain for 150 years at the hands of Britain. India had the same thing. They were carved up. Actually, India was much bigger, and then they carved it all up and they split it all up, and they made the decisions, with the treaties to carve up, the countries in those areas. And look at Africa, the same thing. And so these people have gone through these and ravaged some of these continents. Full continents have been ravaged by the British government, and they still have the economic power. That second Roman Empire is still underpinning all the things that we see. John Maynard Keynes was an Anglo-Saxon, not an Anglo-American.
Not a good man. All right, I got to cut you because my wife's going to divorce me. I just want to say, because you say good things are coming up, so I'm going to play this for you real fast.
Terrorists, your game is through, 'cause now you have to answer to America.
There we go. All right. I love that so much. All right. SlapHappyHemp.com, couple advertisements, Rick. And then maybe next Tuesday I'll bring you in at 10 because we always run our conversations way long. And I think
sure. Yeah, that would be better for me.
Drive Isaiah crazy. I'll bring you in at 10 next time. But again, this guy lost his business. It goes out in November. So if you are somebody who buys hemp products for whatever reason, pain, you name it, think SlapHappyHemp.com. It's our good friend John Grady. He's in the app all the time, contributes to the show. Good man. Ran for office. He's going to run again, as I understand it. SlapHappyHemp.com. You can reach him at 636-388-8771. SlapHappyHemp.com. Again, I think this goes through November. Maybe give him 30 days extra, maybe into December. So if you want hemp products at a discount and you want to buy from somebody who's a contributor to the show, it is my man, John Grady. SlapHappyHemp.com. You can reach him at 636-388-8771. And then always, Moe's Pizza, baby, when it is time for lunch. And Tuesday, they're back open again. So if you're in Washington, Missouri, if you're in Franklin County, get out to Washington, Missouri, and get yourself some delicious pizza and salad bar. You can have the chicken wings. Man, I am starving. I haven't eaten all day. Chicken wings. We could do sandwiches. The burgers look amazing. I haven't had the burgers yet. We'll get a burger next time we go, Isaiah. Rick, too. Same thing with you. We got to get a burger when we're out there. And the most delicious ice cream. Great people, family environment. Any kind of gathering that you may have in that area, reach out to Moe's Pizza because they have banquet space available for birthday parties, anniversaries, political meetings, Bible studies, you name it, any kind of get-together. Moe's Pizza in Washington, Missouri is the place. As he likes to say, God owns the place, Rob. I just work here. Moe's Pizza at the corner of Grand and 5th Street. When it's lunch and you're in Franklin County, it's always Moe's Pizza. Get there. All right, Rick, we'll do 10 o'clock next Tuesday. You talked me into it. We'll do 10 o'clock. And then what I want to do next Tuesday is we'll line up some subjects, and we'll do like a little timer. Say, okay, for 20 minutes, we're talking about this, then we'll go to this, then we'll go to this, and we'll get through a bunch of different subjects, and you can kind of tie those together. We'll do that next Tuesday. Fair?
That sounds great.
Right on. All right, have a great day, my friend. Always good to see your face. Isaiah, thanks for sticking around.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. We'll see. We have this Silicon Sally coming in next tomorrow, Isaiah.
Awesome.
Got Silicon Sally. She's got a big social media platform going on. People are starting to pay attention to her. We played a clip. I reached out to her. She said, I'd love to come on. So we'll have her on Wednesday, and then just got a message back from Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reporting. He's been on InfoWars multiple times. He's going to come on the show. We'll schedule him here soon. We have G. Edward Griffin coming on the show. I think we'll do him either live Friday or we'll tape it Friday and play it Monday. So we've got some very interesting conversation coming up. Don't miss it. Tomorrow, Silicon Sally. I think people are going to get a kick out of that. She's got a great chance. She's got some very interesting information, some very interesting life experience that she's got going on. Anyway, that's all we got for you. Isaiah, I'll talk to you soon. I got a lot of work to do. I keep getting halfway through these things. I need to just finish it up. We'll get the pre-roll done, multiple different other things. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on the Rob Carter Show. Have a great day. Go out and conquer the day. Isaiah, I'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
See you, brother.